Okay, we just have a 30-second countdown here. I've had to bang this before. Okay, I call the regular council meeting to order for Monday, October 16th, 2023. We would like to acknowledge that this council meeting is being held on the homeland of the Ktunaxa people. Good evening and welcome to the regular council meeting of October 16th, 2023. It's really nice to see that we have residents and guests in our newly renovated City Council gallery, which was not paid for by property tax, by the way, but we got it fully funded almost through the provincial government. I'm just going to provide a reminder for our guests that those members of the public who are joining us for our meeting tonight in the chamber, this is a business meeting of council, and as such, you are invited to attend and listen to council's discussion of the agenda items. However, members of the public are not to speak during the meeting. Public participants in council meetings are restricted to comments received during public hearings for land use bylaws, and any comments received must be related to the proposed bylaw only. So with that, that's sort of the business meeting piece that I need to talk about. We also have item 2.2. We have two late items for consideration for tonight's agenda. The first is a letter from the Cranbrook Farmers Market, and the second is a letter from Cranbrook Minor Hockey Association. Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda of the regular council meeting of Monday, October 16th as amended? Councillor Blissett, Councillor Ray. All in favor? Excellent, carried. Can I get a motion to adopt the following minutes? The regular council meeting of Monday, September 25th, 2023, the special meeting of Wednesday, September 27, 2023, and the committee of the whole, September 27, 2023. Councillor Stetsky, Councillor Blissett, all in favor? And that's carried as well. Switch my speaking notes now. Item 4.1 is our public hearing. It's being convened pursuant. I got to read a whole lot of pages here, folks, so just be with me. This public meeting is being convened pursuant to Section 465 of the Local Government Act to consider 1, the official community plan amendment bylaw 4124 2023, and 2, the zoning bylaw amendment bylaw number 4125 2023. This public hearing is being held in person and electronically, with residents and interested parties being given the opportunity to express their views. This meeting is being broadcast live from the city's website, and there is a link to the homepage that will take you directly to the meeting. At this public hearing, any person who believes that their interest in property is affected by the proposed bylaws shall be given an opportunity to be heard. No one will be or should feel discouraged or prevented from making their views known. However, it is important that all who speak at the meeting restrict their remarks to matters contained in the bylaws, and it is my responsibility as chair of this meeting to ensure that all remarks are so restricted. Members of council may ask questions of you following your presentation. However, the main function of council members this evening is to listen to the views of the public and not to debate the merits of the proposed bylaw with individual citizens. For those who wish to speak concerning the proposed bylaws should, at the appropriate time, begin to clearly state your name and address, and then give us the benefits of your views. You will be given 5 minutes for your presentation, and I will call presentations 3 times for each bylaw. Once the public hearing is closed, members of council cannot take any further input regarding the proposed bylaws, and will then deal with the bylaw during the regular meeting of council after the public hearing. Page 2. The first bylaw for consideration tonight is the proposed City of Cranbrook Official Community Plan bylaw number 4124 2023. The subject properties are located off Highway 95A on Coral Road, legally described as Lot 6, Plan EEP 4920, and Plan A EEP 109655, and Lot Plan EEP 112056. This OCP amendment, bylaw number 4124/2023, will 1, amend the housing typology chart in the St. Mary's Neighborhood Plan by adding a new category for two-family residential use, and amending the total unit distribution counts for the east side to include 156 strata single-family detached and 2-family residential, 19 future strata single-family, and 118 multifamily residential. 2, it will amend Appendix 1, Conceptual Development Plan, St. Mary Neighborhood Plan, by changing the land use categories of the subject property as follows. A, Lot 6, Plan EEP 4920, and Lot A, Plan EEP 109655. Gulf District to Estate Single Family Residential. Estate Single Family Residential to Low Density Residential and Low Density Multifamily Residential. And Community Open Space to Low Density Multifamily Residential. To B, Lot 1 Plan EEP 112056 from Estate Single Family Residential to Medium Density Residential. Okay, now I will now call on any members of the public who are in the chamber tonight to speak first. And if you wish to provide comments, please come to the podium and provide your name and address before giving us your comments. If you are on the phone line waiting to speak, callers will be identified by the last 2 digits of their phone number, or if you have pre-registered, we will call you by name. Please make sure you know which number you are calling from and listen for it to be called. When it's your turn to speak, you will be allowed to unmute yourself by pressing *6, and you will have your opportunity to provide us with your views. If you have not pre-registered and wish to speak, please press *3 and your phone to signal staff you wish to address council. Okay, I will now call for the first time for submissions. Anyone from the floor that wishes to speak to this public hearing? I'll call once. Mark, do we have anyone online?
So, Acting Mayor, we do have one unregistered caller with a number ending in 92. I don't know if it's a member of Andrea's team. Is it Ralph or Richard possibly online? Otherwise, there's a caller and with a phone number ending 92 online, not registered to speak.
Can we ask them to speak?
The person that phoned in with the phone number ending in 92, are you here to speak to the public hearing?
So nothing. Okay, so that was our first call. I will now call a second time for submissions. So again, from the gallery, if not on the line. We have no one. I will now call for the third and final time for submissions, either in the gallery or online. Apparently we have none. Hearing no further comments, I now close the public hearing for the proposed City of Cranbrook Official Community Plan Amendment, bylaw number 4124/2023. Number 2, the next bylaw for consideration tonight is the proposed City of Cranbrook zoning bylaw amendment, bylaw number 4125/2023. The subject properties are located off Highway 95A on Coral Road, legally described as Lot 6 and Kootenay District Plan EPP 4920, part of Lot A Plan EPP 4920, and part of Lot 1 Plan EPP 4920, Plan EPP 112056. The proposed zoning amendment will add a new subsection G, two-family residential development district, small lot, and associated zoning regulations for the new district to the CD3 zone. It will delete and replace the development concept plan in the CD3 zone with new maps which designate the following lands with their new development districts. That is parts of Lot 6 and Lot A changed from single-family residential district estate to low-density multifamily development district, and two-family residential district, small lot, and part of Lot 1 from single-family residential district estate to multifamily development district. Also, text amendment to the low-density multifamily development district to update minimum parcel size requirements and principal building heights. Also, text amendments to the multifamily development district section 7.28.3.6.d.5 to add the new development code F and establish the base density of 40 units per hectare. Finally, this amendment, will facilitate the proposed development of approximately 10 single-family lots, 18 duplex lots, 54 multifamily townhouse units, and 60 condo units, while providing for different family type options, different housing type options, including single, 2, 3, and 4 family dwellings and multifamily condo units. So again, the gallery can go first. I will now call for first time for submissions for this public hearing piece. Anyone from the gallery? Mark, anyone online?
Again, Acting Mayor, just the one unidentified caller with the phone number ending in 92 if they'd like to speak. You guys unmute them? They are unmuted, so all they have to do is speak. But otherwise, that's it.
Okay, so they can hear you and they're not speaking. Okay, so that was our first call. Now I'll call a second time for submissions. Here we go. Yes, your name and your address, and push the button so the green comes on. Welcome, and your name and address.
My name is Andrea Workington, and the address is the ones that you've described. So we are the landowners of the zoning amendment bylaw. So Mr. Begg let me know that there was one letter that did come in today with a few different concerns. So I just wanted to address those concerns. I think the biggest thing that concerns people is the highway access from Parnaby Road onto Highway 95A. So Darren Barrett and myself met with Moti today, and we now subsequently have another meeting involving the city next week that's scheduled. So it's a little bit more complex than just a highway intersection upgrade, because Parnaby Road is a city road, and obviously the highway belongs to the ministry. And then the road that's across from Parnaby Road, Mount View, is also part of the provincial purview. So we've already had a traffic impact assessment study done that the city has a copy of. And what we're doing also affects the west side of Shadow Mountain lands and the developers on those lands. So we are working together collaboratively with everyone involved to figure out what the best solution is for access for both sides of Shadow Mountain. So I just wanted to address that is in progress, and it's not being ignored by any means, because we all understand the need for that. Another thing that was mentioned in the letter was to do with short-term rentals. Now, short-term rentals, many of us have stayed in them, I'm sure at some point. Doesn't necessarily mean that they're party spots, but you know, most of this, I don't know if the city of Cranbrook has a short-term bylaw. No, so there is none. So I don't think that it's appropriate to further restrict ourselves, because we did agree on the 10-acre parcel, Lot 5, Parnaby Road, to do that, but I would prefer to not agree to do that, because I do think it limits who our potential clients could be, more specifically for the condo project there. The rest of it, I'm sure, is not a big deal. But I just wanted to make a comment that I don't wish to restrict potential buyers by agreeing to that at this point. And I'm just trying to think what else there was. Is that about it? Yeah. So, and we appreciate you listening to us tonight. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you for that. Council questions to our presenter, Councillor Stetsky.
Thank you. Not so much the presenter, but CEO Furcho, have you had a chance to review the new legislation that the province brought down this morning and what impact that might have on short-term rentals, just for interest?
And just point of order, just how is this speaking to the bylaw at hand?
Please say that again, please.
How is this speaking to the bylaw at hand? The question about short-term rentals.
So the presenter is talking about short-term rentals as part of their operating plan, and something recently came up with the provincial government today, speaking to how certain communities will have rules in place for restricting short-term rentals. So I'll rule it's part consistent just because this came up today. And Mark, do you have anything to add to that?
I would challenge the chair's ruling on that.
Oh,
because
here we go.
We're sticking strictly to the bylaw at hand as a public hearing.
Okay.
This is a side conversation that has nothing to do with the bylaw. So I would challenge the chair.
Okay, so I believe for that, we need a vote. So a seconder first to challenge the chair. Councillor Peabody, this is going to be fun. Okay, so it needs to be a majority vote to challenge the chair that we're going to move on. All those in favor of challenging the chair? Okay, I got defeated again. That is, I have been challenged. They were not going to accept that question. Councillor Stetsky, do you have another question?
No, I'll leave that to the end of the meeting because it is important information
good.
for people.
Good, and thank you, Councillor Graham. Any further questions for our presenter? Thank you very much. Okay, I will now call for the third time. Do we have any people that wish to provide some submissions? And I gather, Mark, we have no one online. Okay, hearing no more comments, I now close the public hearing for the proposed City of Cranbrook zoning bylaw amendment number 4125, 2023. Next up, we have a delegation from Nathan Lewin, Cranbrook Bucks Hockey Club. It's an update on the Cranbrook Bucks current events, operations, and future plans. So Nathan, welcome, and please take the podium. And I believe we have 10 minutes to hear from you, and then there will be possible questions from council. So Nathan, please.
Well, first of all, thank you, Council, for hearing us out and accepting our delegation. We're excited to be here, as you said. My name is Nathan Lewin. I'm the majority owner and president of the Cranbrook Bucks Hockey Club. I live here in Cranbrook with my family. My wife, Brianna, is here, partner in crime. We have three wonderful little kids at home. And we've called Cranbrook our home for on and off for about 15 years now. And we love it here. So, as you said, this is more of a general update for council on where things have been. I would like to talk a little bit about kind of who we are, what we're about, and where we're trying to go. And shall I work with the City of Cranbrook in those things. So the Cranbrook Bucks are obviously a member of the BCHL. The BCHL is probably one of the most modern and progressive leagues I would say in the world. And I'm so proud to be a part of a league that always talks about what's best for the players and what's best for our fans, and does so with a lot of integrity. So very proud to be part of that boardroom. When it comes to our franchise and what we're about, we bring a lot of values to what we do. We try to do everything we do with integrity, to do it in good faith, to do things honestly. And I think that we've set a really good standard within our company, within our team of how we do things. So very proud of what we've done in 3.5 years. We employ over 80 people now, 11 full-time staff. We've turned into a bigger company, and we've got a lot going on. And we've grown in a lot of different ways, which I'll get into, increasing our impact both economically and socially in this community. I think that you just look at both our attendance and the different drivers that supplement what we do, and I think it's been a very successful venture so far for the community. People have supported us The support from the community has been very strong, the corporate community. And our job isn't just to accept their support, it's to also bring something to the table for the community, which I think we've accomplished. There's many different arms to what we do in our company. It's not just always hockey, but we obviously run all the food and beverage at Western Financial Place. Very proud of how that department has operated. If you haven't tried our team beer yet, you should. 5 Point Lager with Fisher Peak. It's a good one. No, we've made some really good accomplishments there. I should even mention at Rock the Kootenays this summer, we were entrusted with doing the food and beverage service, and we did over 11,000 transactions in the short 3 days. I think that's nothing short of miraculous, and nothing like that has been ever done here in the Kootenays. So very proud of my team for accomplishing that. Obviously, we're very busy in the community. Things like our reading program. We've been to almost every elementary school in town, helping with literacy and education and talking about the importance of education. We attend numerous fundraisers. We work closely with minor hockey. Even just recently, we're trying to juggle our schedule to get them as much ice as we can possibly share with them with the current developments. And also helping young players develop, whether it's our hockey schools, whether it's our clinics, doing everything that we can to help the local players grow. Our company donates over $10,000 a year to our community, whether in cash or whether in kind. We're always looking to support the societies and the charities in our town. And on top of that, I would also add that we host the 50/50 in partnership with the Rotary Club, which has been a wonderfully successful venture and has earned, over the course of 2 years, definitely hundreds of thousands for the community, which has been great. We also want to try and fill needs when we see them in the community. We've brought events to Western Financial Place in the way of concerts. Our Spirit of the Rockies concert, both of them were wildly successful, and we're very proud to put those on. We brought the Canadian women's national team in here 2 years ago, which would have been a sold-out event if it wasn't for those COVID restrictions. But we sold it out to capacity at the time, which we're very proud that we could bring those things to this community. More things we see, obviously, maybe not everyone knows, but there's quite a bus shortage in Cranbrook right now. We actually have an agreement in place to purchase a bus to try and help not just our team, but help the community as well when we can share those resources with others. One of our bigger accomplishments, and I know there's been some confusion in the community about what this is our hockey academy that has started up this fall. So let me maybe touch on this quick on kind of how this started. But for a lot of years, there was about 10 or 15 kids that were having to leave Cranbrook between the ages of 14, 15, 16 each year to seek hockey academies abroad and different opportunities. And that's hard on families, that's hard on parents, that's hard on our economics. And I mean, we lost a couple doctors for this exact reason, and it's had a pretty big impact on the community. So for us to bring in this academy like we have done, this U18 program, we have 13 local kids on this team, which is saving them the hassle of having to move. So not just for families, not just for economics, but for so many reasons. This team is up to 19 players today, and I'm very proud of the program that we're offering here locally for kids to pursue. Further to that, other accomplishments that we've achieved. One of the things I'm most proud of is our kids youth program, our ticket program. The demographics when we took over from the previous junior club, I believe there are about 65% seniors that were attending their games. Not that there's anything wrong with the seniors attending the game, but we really wanted to target the young families. We are now 65% adults and kids. That's young families that are coming to the game because it's affordable and because we have these wonderful programs in place to allow them to come to the games for a very low price or for free. Our company has done tons of upgrades to Western Financial Place. If you haven't seen them already, we have built 3 brand new suites, temporary suite. We've made upgrades to the dressing room. We painted this and that. We're trying to make that not only our home, but a better home for those who are here in Cranbrook. We brought a winning team to Cranbrook in the 2 years that we've been able to play in front of our fans here, and last year even coming second place in our conference and achieving quite a bit. We put Cranbrook on the map in the NHL draft. Last summer, we actually had a player directly drafted from off our roster, which was pretty cool to see the Cranbrook Bucks team name at that NHL draft. As I talked about before, our culture and value system is something that we really tried to instill And I think it's already gained a reputation amongst the hockey community, amongst advisors, that people know that this is a wonderful place to play. They're going to be treated well. We're going to be honest with these kids, and they're going to have a wonderful time playing in front of the citizens of Cranbrook. On top of that, we've also achieved some individual awards. Our goaltender last year was goalie of the year. That was Nathan Erie. Our coach last year earned coach of the year, Ryan Donald. I believe he's standing at the back somewhere. But Cranbrook is extremely lucky to have him. Him and his wife Carly and their 3 kids, they call Cranbrook home. They own a house here. He's probably one of the best decisions I've made since owning this team, and he's been a fabulous part of this community. And last and definitely least would be the fact that I have been able to fool a lot of the people in the BCHL boardroom, and they voted me Executive of the Year last year. And so obviously Cranbrook has become the envy of a lot of teams in the BCHL, and what we're doing in this community I think is quite powerful, and it's noticed across the province and across our league. There are obviously challenges that we faced along the way. Obviously, right off the hop, we came into COVID, and we had to fight through that. I'm very proud about how we handled that and how we came out of that with some momentum. Obviously, now we're facing some changing economic landscapes, like we all are, and we will continue to handle those. Brianne and I are here for the long haul. We love Cranbrook. We call it home. We're here to make this team work, and we're going to do everything we can to make this work in this community, support the community, and do the right things in this community. So we will definitely uphold that. I want to say thank you to a couple of the councillors who have, over the past few weeks when I've been talking to them, actually acknowledged that, and that meant a lot to us. They said, hey, thank you that you and Brianna are all in. Thank you for what you've brought to this community. So it is wonderful to hear those words from you. And I would leave you with this, other councillors, if please reach out. I'd love to chat with you. I'd love for you to ask questions about what we're doing, how we can do things better, how we can move forward. I think those are wonderful conversations that we should be having in the future. And I'll leave it there for any questions.
Excellent. Thank you, Nathan. Any questions for Nathan? Councillor Graham? Are you going to call me out of order again? Or?
Well, no, we're not in public hearing now.
Yet? Okay. And Councillor Teske?
Yeah, it's great. Thank you for the update. I think this is the first time that we've had a Bucks update since you've been at the helm and running it. And it's great to see, our largest client of Western Financial Place Arena here and chatting. I know it's good to hear what's happening. And I'm just curious on a couple things just around the Hockey Academy. I know this is the first year of it. How are you? Is it majority locals, or are you attracting now students to come in to Cranbrook, and how does that work? Do you billet kids, or do you have to go through that? And what's that like? Do you have enough billet capacity, or just along those lines to see how that works?
Yeah, really good question. So we've got a wonderful school partner at KCA. So of our 19 players, 13 of them are from the Kootenays. And then we do have about 6 or 7 players that do billet. And we have had enough billets for that. We've got a wonderful billet community, Brianne and others who help that come together and save the day on that on a few occasions. And that is the plan moving forward. Is this to be primarily locals first, give them every opportunity to play for this team, and then supplementing with mostly kids from southern Alberta.
Thank you. And Councillor Statsky?
Yeah, thank you. And I mostly just wanted to say thank you. I've been a long time seasons ticket holder to the ice and now the Bucks. I really appreciate the product that you're putting on the ice, and I really appreciate how involved you are with the community. That was kind of lacking the last couple of years with the Kootenay Ice, quite frankly. So really appreciate that. Topic for a different day. Penticton V's second goal was not a goal on Friday night, but
yeah, well,
we can talk about that another time.
Yeah, well, we can talk to the officiating crew at the BCHL about that one.
Other questions for Nathan? Nathan, seriously, thank you for coming here today. I think it's been enlightening to hear all the aspects of how the Cranbrook Bucks are engaged in our community, I think in our schools, and supporting every way you can. So thank you for that. Continued work on that. You're here for the long term. We appreciate that as well. And thank you for being a good representative of hockey and getting the election or the nomination to this team, this council, what was that you got elected to?
Oh, the executive committee.
To the executive committee. So there you go. Well done. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so the first bylaws for consideration tonight are the official community plan amendment bylaw number 4124, 2023, and zoning amendment bylaw number 4125, 2023, regarding Oasis at the Dunes. Both bylaws are on the agenda for consideration for third reading tonight. Can I get a motion that, subject to council's consideration of the public input received up to and including the public hearing of October 16th, 2023, council give third reading to the City of Cranbrook Official Community Plan Amendment Bylaw number 4124, 2023. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Ray, seconder, Councillor Graham. Discussion, please. Councillor Steska.
Yes, thank you. And I think this is almost more for the future, although it does relate to the bylaws tonight. One of the things that I'm going to continue to focus on for the city of Cranbrook is smart growth, also known as new urbanism or location efficient development. And for those that aren't familiar with the term, the simple definition is that smart growth concentrates growth in compact, walkable urban centers to avoid sprawl and discourage dispersed automobile developments. Smart growth is important for the environment. It's also important for long-term costs. There are maintenance costs when you are, 10 to 14 kilometers out of town. Additional costs for fire department support, first responder, et cetera. So, and I guess for me, it's doubling down on sprawl by increasing density doesn't fit with the approach to smart growth. So, having said that, people often ask me, what do you think of the current council? And I always say the same thing. I think that collectively we represent the different interests of the citizens of Cranbrook really well when you look around the table. So I'm happy to continue to be here to support those. And I do hear from citizens that would, looking forward, particularly would like to see smart growth, a real emphasis for how we develop Cranbrook. So you develop, in principle, that means once you finish one block, your next development is the next block right beside it.
Excellent. Thank you, Councillor Steska. Yes, Councillor Bissett.
Thank you. We received a letter from some of the residents of Shadow Mountain, and they mentioned that they had not received any information regarding this bylaw change. Sorry. Could you comment on that, please?
Sure. Acting Mayor and Council, notification was provided in accordance with our bylaws. So we send direct mail out to all properties within 30 meters of the subject properties. I think what they were getting at was they are a share owner in the common road, which likely didn't end up having a title that would have shown them as an owner, but they're the HOA. And these properties will also become part of the HOA, is my understanding, and they'll have to sort out those shares and that road ownership. That was in relation to that. And then the notice was also published in accordance with the Local Government Act and our notification bylaw. So that's probably why they didn't get a direct mailing. It's something that perhaps, we can discuss at the table going forward if we want to extend out over and above notice requirements, just like for example, like the Strata Corporation for these types of matters. We can certainly look at that, but we follow our delegation and development approvals bylaw for the notification and the act.
So supplemental to that. So another time when a bylaw amendment comes up and we're at first and second reading, should we then mention whether or not we want to extend the area
Sure,
of
we can,
notification?
and that's something that we can bring, I'll keep that in my mind and we can bring that to our attention. Certainly that is an option. Yeah, we're not restricted by any means that I can think of that would prevent us from going over and above the requirements, but we do follow the legislation and our own bylaws. And this is probably one of those cases where, because they're not a direct titled owner that would get notified via the information on title or through our BC assessment data, that's why they wouldn't have gotten direct mailings. Yeah, so we'll look at that for sure.
Yes, thank you, Rob. Further questions? Councillor Peabody.
Thank you, Councillor Popoff. It's been explained to us before that given the fact that we do have a community that is so far outside of the traditional city limits of Cranbrook, that the best way to reduce the cost of providing services out in that area is to increase the amount of density So given that information, I will be voting in favor of this bylaw.
Thank you, Councillor Peabody. Any further questions of council? Okay, so council to give third reading to the City of Cranbrook Official Community Plan Amendment Bylaw number 4124, 2023. All in favor? And all opposed? And Councillor Sketsky is opposed and he would like his name recorded. Yes. Thank you. Can I get a motion that subject to council's consideration of the public input received up to and including the public hearing October 16th, 2023, council give third reading. Oh, I just read that. No, I didn't. Third reading, the City of Cranbrook Zoning Amendment Bylaw number 4125, 2023. Sorry, moved by Councillor Graham, seconded by Councillor Peabody. Discussion. Hearing no discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? For the record, Councillor Stetsky is opposed. Thank you. Moving on to item 6.2, it's the financial report. The second bylaw for consideration is our annual taxation exemption bylaw number 4127, 2023. And I'll ask Charlotte to provide a brief overview of the report, please.
Thank you, Acting Mayor Popoff. So tonight we are considering, we're asking council to consider the 2023 tax exemption bylaw. These are tax exemptions for 2024. The bylaw is required to be adopted prior to October 31st and be forwarded to BC Assessment for work that they need to do on the assessment roll. On September 25th, 2023, at the regular council meeting, a list of applicants was reviewed with council. We discussed whether or not any changes were required. None were. So the list that was provided to council on that date is the list that has that makes up Schedule A to the proposed bylaw this evening.
Excellent. Thank you. Questions for Charlotte? Okay, we have a motion to the council give first reading to the annual taxation exemption bylaw number 4127, 2023. All in favor? Sorry, did I? Oh, I thought I did that. Sorry. So that's the motion on the floor. Can I have it moved by Councillor Brissett, seconded by Councillor Ray? Now we can have discussion. Councillor Stetsky.
Yeah, thank you. I wanted to go back to the Cranbrook Golf Course for just a minute. It shows a 50% reduction. Some of the discussions we had earlier was around considering the tax exemption should only apply to the number of months that they are actually open to the public, since they do not provide winter opportunities for cross-country skiing or walking or anything like that. So were those concluded, and is 50% kind of where we landed, Charlotte?
Councillor Stetsky, per the city's permissive property tax exemption bylaw, the maximum available to sports or athletics facilities is 50%. So in considering your query from the September 25th meeting, it is a 50% permissive tax exemption on the assessed value of the golf course lands. Now, if the intent is to provide 25%, so half of the 50%, no, that is not reflected in the bylaw you're looking at tonight.
Thank you. Further questions? Okay, seeing none. Those in favor? Those opposed? And it is carried. Thank you. Now, can I get a motion that council give second reading to the annual taxation exemption bylaw number 4127, 2023? Moved by Councillor Ray, seconded by Councillor Stetsky. Any discussion? Those in favor? Those opposed? Excellent. Carried. Now, can I get a motion that council give third reading to the annual taxation exemption bylaw number 4127, 2023? Councillor Blissett, Councillor Graham. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you very much. Item 8.1 under new business This is a resolution being brought forward by Councillor Peabody. It's on artificial intelligence policy. And Councillor Peabody, I'll ask you to present your resolution, please.
Thank you, Councillor Popoff. So my resolution reads, whereas artificial intelligence, otherwise known as AI, systems have the potential to greatly benefit our municipality through enhanced efficiency and service delivery. And whereas traditional AI, otherwise known as classic AI or conventional AI, detects patterns to predict, automate or generate insights, generative AI is a class of AI that lets the user submit a request with relevant data to guide content generation such as text, images, audio, and video. And whereas generative AI is an evolving technology that has limitations and unique risks, including but not limited to sharing of confidential information and producing false or incorrect content. Therefore, Council directs administration to develop policy and guidelines around the use of AI for city staff, mayor, and council. And these guidelines should aim to ensure the responsible and ethical use of AI systems, protect sensitive information, and minimize the risk of generating incorrect or biased content.
Thank you, Councillor Peabody, for reading the motion. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Graham, seconded by Councillor Ray. Discussion. Councillor Stetsky.
I'm just curious, for CEO Furcho, any examples that you can provide where municipalities have gotten involved in AI? Sometimes you hear these days some horror stories around AI as well.
Maybe I'll just ask Leon to have a chat. He has been preparing for this for a while, and so this motion's in line with what our IT department's already been working on. So I just thought it'd be good if Leon spoke to that.
Thank you. To Acting Mayor. So over the last, I think, couple of years, we've been using a lot of systems that have AI integrated in them. Part of what we're noticing too is a lot of our staff are requesting to use it for content generation and automating some processes. So I think this is the perfect time for us to look at the policy or guidelines to help us moving forward.
Thank you. Good question. Further questions on the subject? Seeing none. Those in favor of the motion? Those opposed? You're in favor of the motion?
Yes.
Those opposed? Carried. Thank you very much. Very timely motion. Thank you for bringing that forward, Councillor Peabody. The next item, 8.2 on the agenda, is from our Public Works Department regarding curbside collection services in strata developments. I'll ask Caitlin to speak to this report, please. Caitlin.
So in July of 2020, we received authorization to participate in the Recycle BC curbside collection program. There were multiple criteria to participate in that. One of them was being we had to provide curbside garbage collection for 2 years to the residents that would be receiving that collection, other than new builds. So the households that did not receive garbage collection from the city, which would be an example of strata properties, were not eligible to receive curbside recycling collection. We continued to receive several inquiries from strata property owners. So in February of 2021, we did reach out to legal counsel to get a few options on what was available for us. They did give us a few alternatives to providing the service. One of them was we can contract with the strata developments for services, or if there were multiple strata developments asking for this service, we could amend our bylaw and provide that service. So in May of 2021, the recycling program started, and we did continue to receive inquiries from strata developments. We did direct them to the regional district's yellow bin program, as well as to their strata council to ask for a private curbside collection service. So from May 2021 until present, we've continued to receive inquiries from strata properties, and we're currently underway of planning for our automated garbage program. In September of 2023, I met with Recycle BC, and strata properties are eligible to participate in curbside recycling collection as long as they receive curbside garbage collection from the city. So those services do have to go hand in hand. With the planning underway for this transition to automated garbage, it's really important that we do have a clear idea of whether the service will be provided to strata developments, because it is a change in our level of service and it will impact the zones as well as the routing and scheduling for our garbage collection. If strata developments are included, it would be open to those that are the same kind of layout as our regular households that are outside of strata developments. So single family dwelling units, secondary suites, apartment buildings up to 6 units, and townhomes that can provide the cart to the street. So this would not include those households that just open up to a parking lot. They actually have to be able to bring a collection cart to the street. So our automated garbage collection, we have about a 1,500 capacity for residents for each zone. And we're about 84% capacity with our existing number of dwelling units. We approximate about 800 households, potentially a bit more because we don't have an exact number of secondary suites in some of those households that would be added to services. That brings us up to 95% capacity. This is really important to keep in mind because it will eventually trigger us to have to get additional staff and additional equipment to provide the service. Our garbage operators, they also maintain the garbage tubes throughout the city. So there's 58 garbage tubes, and how they get emptied kind of varies throughout the season and with events from downtown. But with that, as well as an increase to 95% capacity, there is some hesitation on whether we would be able to maintain the continued level of service, especially if we are in situations with high snowfall. When we do look at strata developments, they do not pay a collection fee right now, so they do pay a landfill fee, which all residents pay. So for budgetary implications, they would be required to pay a garbage collection fee. We do not charge for recycling collection. We receive an incentive from Recycle BC for that cost, but we do have a third-party contractor that does provide that service. Right now, when we look at the household dollar value each month, the contractor is more than the incentive we receive. But over the first 5 years of the program, we are receiving an incentive from the Regional District of the East Kootenay for our cart purchase. Our cart procurement, we were able to get better pricing than anticipated, so that shortfall for the household collection is being taken care of through that. So that's for the first 5 years of the program, which brings us to 2026, which is also when our agreement with the third-party contractor expires. And at that time, we're also evaluating on whether we're going to be bringing that service in-house or if we're going to continue providing that service.
Thank you. So can I get a motion that council receive the report from the Public Works Department titled Curbside Collection Services in Strata Developments, both for information and to direct staff to bring back a report for decision at the next regular council meeting on October 30th, 2023. Moved by Councillor Bassett, seconded by Councillor Stetsky. Discussion. Oh boy, everything. Here we go. I'm going to start with Councillor Graham. We're just going to go around so I don't have to keep track. Councillor Graham.
Yeah, thank you. Just a couple quick questions. When I look at the numbers here, I was just pulling up my calculator because I'm not good at math in my head. So we're about 6,300 homes we collect from right now, approximately?
Approximately, yes.
And that's $7 a month each home pays for collection?
Correct.
And does that break even, or do we lose money on that? Are our costs covered with $7?
So that's for our garbage collection.
Yeah.
As far as I'm aware, that it does break even, and it doesn't include our recycling, but our recycling does break even.
Okay. And with this incentive from Recycle BC, you're saying it will end in 5 years' time?
No, we're still eligible for the incentive from Recycle BC. It's the grant from the regional district for the cart purchase. We're doing a 5-year purchase for the cart, so it wasn't such a large upfront capital cost. So that incentive and the cart purchase, the incentive from the regional district was higher than what the carts cost. So that's making up our shortfall in the collection.
Okay, so that is a longer term funding that we can count on for the Recycle BC part of that.
That's correct.
And for strata collection, would this be by stratas that want to opt in, or would we just, if we're going to do it, we need to do it in mass? How would that work?
It's up to the municipality. I did reach out to other municipalities to see what they do. Some, for example, Salmon Arm is all bare land strata are eligible. Other places such as Chilliwack, Regional District of Central Okanagan, Langley, it's all in their bylaw, and the strata development approaches the city. And then the city goes and does an assessment, because some of them are quite small, and especially where we have those cul-de-sacs and dead ends, it's going to be a bit tricky on how vehicles maneuver through there. So they do an assessment and then determine from that assessment whether the trucks can safely maneuver.
Thank you, Councillor Ray.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. So just in very simple terms, if I were to purchase a strata property tomorrow, what are the general expectations walking in terms of garbage collection and recycling like today?
That would be taken care of from the strata development.
Okay, so when folks buy a strata property currently, they go in knowing that?
I would hope so.
Yeah, okay. I really appreciate the information from other communities. I think that's helpful just to give us a sense of kind of what's out there. And yeah, I guess for me, just in terms of a comment, you know, in anything the city does, we do our best to be fair and inclusive. So I know we've had individual, and it sounds like over the years, various requests from a number of stratas, but yeah, it wouldn't just be a one-off for one strata. If we're looking at something like this, it would be, we'd have a fair, inclusive process of some kind.
Yes, the intent would be to bring a few options to council on the 30th based on our discussions today.
Thank you.
So, thank you, Councillor Bissett. No, Councillor Peabody?
Thank you, Acting Mayor. Caitlin, just had one quick question. Is there any private companies within Cranbrook that do provide curbside recycling, or that could provide curbside recycling to strata properties?
Yes, I'm not 100% familiar because I'm not in a strata, but they are all private sector. I know Garbage Trucker does garbage. I'm not sure if they do recycling. And then of course GFL, who does our recycling collection, that's also an option.
Okay, thank you. I'm a little weary about always trying to stretch our services beyond our means. For the October 30th report, do you think it'd be possible to maybe almost have like a little bit of a price comparison of what it would cost for a strata property to do it privately compared to have the city provide that service? $10 a month compared to $7? Okay. Oh, there we go.
Thank you.
There's the information for the report.
Question
Thank you,
answered.
Councillor Graham.
Question answered. Thank you, Councillor Graham. Councillor Stetsky.
Yes, thank you. So two things. I was chatting with the land developer from Wildstone, and I asked about garbage and recycling, et cetera. And the response was, because they are so close to the transfer station, many of the people that live there just take them with you when they go out and deposit them at the transfer station. So I think it's important to check with these different developments in terms of whether they even have an interest. I know we've heard from some people, but I think it's important to try and determine whether the larger strata communities have an interest. And secondly, if you're going to do a report for us, look at geographical distance and related cost. Going 10, 14 kilometers away to pick up garbage, I doubt we would be in a cost recovery given our current rates for something like that. So if you can provide that information as well, that would be great.
Yeah, I will do that.
Excellent, thank you. Caitlin, I have a few questions. So if I understand right, not all stratas may be suitable because of cul-de-sacs or configuration. We can't get our vehicles in and out, or the weighting of the vehicles may not be sustainable for the way the road was constructed. So there'll be some sort of an assessment of that. Can we get our vehicles and our consultant vehicles in and out? There'll be an approval process first to see if they qualify. Is that the basis?
I can bring that option forward to council, but ultimately it would be in the bylaw or council's discretion of whether it's all strata or stratas apply and we do an assessment, or if It's just all of them based on an assessment. So there's a few different avenues we can
And I
take.
guess the other thing I'd be interested in, so within a strata, 80% of it might be fully accessible and serviceable, but you have that cul-de-sac or that one thing. So how would that work? It's there for those, only those that are, have the access to it, and those in the cul-de-sac inaccessible, we just keep driving by them? Is there a thought about that?
In the other municipalities, the entire strata is required to participate in the program. So if the portion of the strata cannot be serviced, the entire strata cannot be serviced.
The entire strata. So it's either 100% in, not 99%.
Correct.
Okay, interesting. And so if we go forward with this, I'm understanding we're right at the peak of capacity. And then if the community starts to grow, or it starts getting cumbersome, because at 90% capacity, 95% capacity, it can become very inefficient. Stuff can happen. So then we bring on staff, or we bring on more equipment, and now we have an excess of capacity. How do we balance as we go forward so we're back in that sweet spot of capacity? Maybe not for now, but for the report later.
Yeah, I can answer a portion of that now. We would take that into consideration as we evaluate the service level for recycling collection. And if in the future we bring on organics collection, that's another opportunity to evaluate our capacity. So it really depends on what services in the future we're willing to provide to our community and how much our community grows. Since we started the program, we've had 77 new occupancies. So just as a scale of where we're at each year, a lot of those were secondary suites.
Excellent, thank you. So I look forward to your report should this motion be passed. So having said that, can I have a mover and a seconder? Did we already do that? I did? Okay, thank you. So we're going for the vote. Those in favor? Those opposed? And it's carried. Thank you. Thank you, Caitlin. I'll get it right here. I've got a couple more still. Next up is a report from Engineering and Development Services, item 8.3, regarding the 2023-24 BC Active Transportation Infrastructure Grant. I'll ask staff to provide a brief overview of the item.
Thank you, Acting Mayor and Council. Bringing forward this report today to look at getting Council's endorsement and the number of resolutions if they want to move forward on applying for the 2023-2024 BC Active Transportation Infrastructure Program to install a multi-use path along McPhee Road from the rails to trails by the railway up to Wildstone Drive, Industrial Road G and F. That link itself is part of our active transportation corridor plan as a part of the trail network all the way up to Moyer Park. So it's kind of a phase of a larger project, but we also get lots of requests from the strata development in Wildstone for a walking, biking network along McPhee. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. Can I get a mover and a seconder for the following motion, please? That Council direct staff to apply to the BC Active Transportation Infrastructure Grant Program for 2023-2024 for the McPhee Road Multi-Use Path Project from Rails to Trails to Wildstone Drive at an estimated cost of $829,107. And further, that Council direct staff to include this project in the 2024 Capital Roads Program pending approval of the grant and funding of city's 40% share of the estimated project cost using the Capital Roads Program funds, and that Council confirm that the McPhee Road Multi-Use Path Project from Rail to Trails to Wildstone Drive is shovel-ready, as outlined in Section 3 of the BC Active Transportation Infrastructure Grant Program Guidelines 2023-24. Moved by Councillor Ray, seconded by Councillor Peabody. Discussion, please. Councillor Graham.
Yeah, thank you. I have I like the idea in principle, but I do have a few practical concerns. One is McPhee Road is becoming a very busy road. And as we see more build out happening in the Wildstone developments and around that area, and more build out in industrial, and I'm concerned that this doesn't allow us to make that road wider. Like we should be looking, because that the intersection of McPhee and Wildstone Drive is a very interesting intersection. I'll use that word because of how busy it is now getting with residents there, with the gym there, and with how busy that traffic is. I think we should be actually looking in a widening McPhee Road, not limiting what our capacity is by putting in a trail. I think a trail is definitely should be worth looking at, but I think we have more issues with traffic than we do with pedestrians, and I drive that every day. So I like the idea. I just don't like the fact that it will prohibit us from making McPhee wider where it should be 3 lanes potentially, and how to deal with those intersections as we get more traffic volume going up that road.
Is there a question there? Did you want a response from staff, Councillor Graham?
Do you share the same concern?
Thank you. Thank you for the question.
Thank you, Councillor Graham. We did undertake a part of report looking at the different options for upgrading it. As part of that report, we didn't look at the long-term growth from the industrial park. However, it would have taken into account the Wildstone residential development and active transportation needs from the city. However, it's part of the reason why we're applying for that this year, or why staff is bringing forward this year is part of the plan for next year to pave that road. So if we don't move forward with this, it's staff's plan to, part of the capital program next year, just to do a mill and fill on that road to bring it as it's starting to fail. At this point, or in our next 25-year plan, we weren't seeing the need for it, looking at our transportation master plan for the widening. It, however, the infrastructure being installed now, the curb and gutter is a 60-year infrastructure. One thing to keep in mind is sorry, I'm just thinking myself through this process here. Council, apologize. The industrial park isn't slated to grow in that area anymore. We might have individual parcels develop, and most of the development for Wildstone will be in the undeveloped portion, more to the north, and not accessing through Wildstone Drive, even though there's a couple pods left. So it's really up to council in the end. However, from what we see, it's not likely needed to upgrade McPhee Drive in the next 25 years.
Thank you, Curtis. Councillor Stetsky.
Yes, thank you. Several questions. $829,000, is that the total cost, including the city's portion, or is the city's portion on top of that, which would bring it about 1.2 million? My office was right across the entrance to Wildstone, and that's a 10-minute walk from the end of the rails to trails up to the turnoff.
Thank you, Councillor Stetsky. The 829,000 and change, that's the total cost of the project, including the city's portion. So the grant itself, the value we're looking for is just under $500,000 from the province.
And I should know this, but I don't. Do we have a trail plan for Cranbrook with prioritized list of trails? Because the one I hear about most often is taking the end of the rails to trails and extending it through to kind of the prestige almost on that side of the city as being a priority for expending money on trails.
The city does have a trail network plan. However, currently that's being updated and looked at. We're in the process of our active transportation plan that's currently ongoing right now, and we're in the current throes of undertaking with a consultant. But yes, there is the plan. This section of multi-use path is only one section of a larger. It would go all the way to Moyer Park in the end if we could build it all. But given the value of grant and the value of this project, this was the logical first phase.
Councillor Stetsky, you through with your questions for now? Excellent. Thank you. Councillor Bissett.
It's been asked.
Thank you. Councillor Ray.
Thank you. Just a quick comment. You know, I see lots of people probably from Wildstone walking to and fro along the dirt side of the road, going down to maybe the Walmart complex or wherever they're going for a coffee, whatever. I think this trail would be a really important safety improvement. And ideally, we'd love to divert some cars off the road and get people walking or on their bikes or their e-bikes. So I think this would be a really valuable addition.
Thank you, Councillor Ray. Thank you. I'm curious, I've got a few questions. Has there been a traffic and pedestrian and cyclist safety study on that? Because McPhee Road going up to Wildstone, it's a steep, windy incline. It's commercial industrial traffic. It's busy, as Councillor Graham says. Is it safe, and how are we going to be making it safe?
Thank you, Acting Mayor Popoff. The one item that actually led up to us looking at applying for this grant at a staff level was completion of a study to look at the options for active transportation and this corridor. And just that was completed this summer. It's attached to the staff report. In regards to the grades in the design that you have in front of you, it does meet the BC active transportation standards in regards to the traffic usage and what's being proposed. To try and make it safe and meet those standards, what's being proposed is a barrier curb and then a path, but also a paved buffer as well. So it would be a wider path than what we see the Rotary Trail and Rails to Trails now, to accommodate for it being in the industrial park.
Excellent, thank you. When is phase 2 up to Moyer Park anticipated completion? If we do this in 2024, where are we gonna, is it 2034 when we finally get phase 2 done?
Well, Acting Mayor Popoff, it hopefully come out in the priorities of the active transportation master plan, what phases and what we want to look at next. However, because we're doing that plan right now, it's making us eligible for this program, where in the past we haven't been. So it's been every year for the last few years. I haven't looked to see if they're offering it next year, but it's definitely something we could look at depending on the priorities in the active transportation.
And it was mentioned before about, is this our #1 trails priority for Cranbrook right now? And you responded basically, yes, it is, given that there were been some other long-term proposals in other parts of the community.
Well, there are other priorities in the city. The one reason that this one was chosen, because we have to be shovel ready for a project. And by doing that study and a little bit of work leading up to this council meeting, we were able to bring it shovel ready, where unfortunately we're not shovel ready on any other projects at this point.
Very good. Sorry, I'm asking a few questions here. So our 40% of this money without overruns is $3,320 coming from our road fund. I would just be curious from staff, is this a priority for our road fund versus other things that we would use our road fund for? I need to get some context on this. A trail that goes up a couple blocks for $332,000, or can we do something else of a higher priority for that money for our given road program?
It is a priority, and it's an actual very good timing for this program, because as I mentioned earlier, we're going to look at milling and repaving that road this year. So instead of putting that extra asphalt into road structure, it'll be into trail multi-use path structure. So really the additional cost is the new curb that's being moved over, and then some of the road work and base that's really being covered here.
And one more, Council Stetsky, then I'll let you in. And so of course, everything has overruns on it. So we will also eat the overruns when that occurs, correct?
Well, hopefully we don't have overruns. We do have a large contingency where in past projects we haven't, but due to COVID, we've been including them into the current.
Good response, Curtis. Thank you. Councillor Stetsky. Councillor Peabody, then Councillor Stetsky.
Thank you, Councillor Popoff. I'm just curious, so this won't be a continuation of Rails to Trails. This is basically intended to be its own section of trail specifically for Wildstone residents. Is that correct?
Councillor Peabody, in our network trail plan that we have, it shows going from the Rails to Trails Rotary Way all the way up to Moyer Park. So it's a first phase in a linkage from Rails to Trails Rotary Trail to Moyer Park. It's just given the cost and the need, this is really the first phase that we're looking at in an overall larger project.
Okay. All right, and why, like, what's the mindset behind extending Rotary Trail, or sorry, rails to trails, or sorry, you said Rotary Trail to Moyer Park. So that's really the intent, is Rotary Trail, not rails to trails.
They're both multi-use paths.
Yeah.
So it's a paved multi-use path with the yellow line down the middle,
Yeah.
whichever one you want to call it.
They both kind of
it's a
intersect
multi-use
there.
Yes.
Okay, great, thank you.
And last but not least, Councillor Teske.
Yeah, thank you. I think it's a good project, but I am going to vote against it because I think we should wait until that prioritized trail plan is completed, particularly given the difficult financial times that we're in. And when I hear, every time I hear $300,000 area, I know that's not a 1% increase in taxes, but that's every time we want to raise $300,000, we have to increase taxes by 1%. And I just have a really hard time supporting this as a priority given our financial situation, and I'm not clear that this is actually a priority in our trails plan for Cranbrook.
Last but not least, Councillor Chubani.
Sorry, one last question before I vote on this. If this project is approved, is it going to save us money on the road construction next year?
Councillor Peabody, I actually haven't done the math on that, but potentially, because the grant will be funding asphalt on pretty much a third of that asphalt on that road where we wouldn't have had funding before. But I would have to run the numbers. I haven't at this point.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, it's been a while, so shall I repeat the motion? No, very good. No one's going to challenge the chair on that. Thank you. Those in favor? 2, 3. Those against? I have to vote, and I'm going to vote against. The next item is also for Engineering and Development Services Department regarding request to make an application for exclusion from the ALR. I'll ask staff to provide a brief overview of the report. Rob Beck.
Sure. Acting Mayor and Council. So the City of Cranbrook's received a request from the Alliance Church to exclude their property from the ALR. It was discovered through their subdivision application process that the church and school are actually located on property that are in the ALR, and some of the remaining lands are not around them, the parking lot specifically. The lands in behind, which are owned by the city, are still in ALR, ironically as well. But what happened was, so we discovered they were in ALR. The applicants approached the commission to seek clarification. Clarification was provided, and it's in the letter that's attached to the report that back in 1981, they were given approval to use that land for church purposes and were recommended that they submit an application to exclude the land. That never occurred. Now that they want to undertake subdivision, development potential, anything related to that matter is now hindered by it being in the ALR. A couple of years ago, the Agricultural Land Commission changed the process for making application for exclusion. It used to be that an applicant made application directly, but in about 2020 or thereabouts, the commission changed the process in that local governments now have to make application on behalf of landowners. So in order to proceed with a subdivision, they need an exclusion or approval to subdivide within. But given that the remaining lands that are part of the school property aren't in the ALR, they're requesting that the city make application. A couple things for consideration, just for council's note, is that so as part of the process, we have to do all the legwork for the application. But as the resolution indicates, is that any fees associated with that application are to be paid by the property owner. So there are requirements for us to send out notice, post a sign on the property, hold a public hearing, et cetera, et cetera. It's all part of the process before it can get forwarded to the commission for consideration. So since this change occurred at the commission level, and we don't deal with a lot of ALR applications in the city, we haven't actually established a fee structure for what we would charge people to do, like on our end. There is a $750 application fee that's payable to the Agricultural Land Commission, and so they'll be responsible for that as well. So basically, we'll be having to do some of the legwork because it's a change in process. If council wishes to proceed with this to help the the Alliance Church proceed. And the only other note is that our current OCP does generally support looking at doing a block exclusion of removing primarily all the ALR land in the city at some point. But the point was that we would want to do it as a block, so we would apply for it all at one time, so as to not kind of piecemeal it. Problem is that we're nowhere near ready for that. It could be years away before the city's in a position to do that. So in the interim, we're bringing this report forward to get council's direction if you would like us to proceed on their behalf to make an application.
Excellent. Thanks, Rob. Can I get the following motion, please? That council authorize staff to proceed with making application on behalf of the Christian and Missionary Alliance Church Canadian Pacific District to the Agricultural Land Commission to seek exclusion of property legally described as Lot A, District Lot 25, Kootenay District Plan 13553, located at 1200 Kootenay Street North, and further, that all costs associated with meeting the application requirements of the ALC be paid for by the property owner / applicant. Moved by Councillor Blissett, seconded Councillor Stetsky. Discussion, Councillor Graham.
Yeah, thank you. I'm totally in favor of this. Question I would have is, would we, because we're going to be going to public hearing, would we not want to just get that city piece done as well? We can do it at the same time. Just curious, because we're going to be to the neighborhood anyway.
Certainly, through your acting mayor and council, we could certainly look at application for that piece. It's literally would just be an inclusion of that land with this application. I would just suggest that if I get direction from council that we look at doing that, which again isn't a whole lot of extra work, that perhaps the city would pay half of the half of the 750. So the Alliance Church isn't bearing the application fee on our behalf. So in which case, if we did it, I guess it could be like a bit of a win-win. We're doing the work anyway. So if we're going to tag on the work for city land, then it's kind of, and then we would split the cost of the 750. But certainly it's something that, it's no more extra really for us to do. So we could certainly do it if council wishes. Absolutely.
Can I amend? That wouldn't really be a motion amendment because it's totally different. Would you just maybe like a second part of the motion then? That if this proceeds, then maybe I'll make a motion that city land would be included.
Yeah, sir. I think, if Marnie's okay with it, we could just have the resolution as is, and further council direct staff to apply to remove the P2, and the application fee would be split.
Yeah,
So,
if that's fine, Chair.
Councillor Stetsky has a question maybe on that subject.
Thank you. Can you describe the city land a little bit more? I see the subject property on the map, but
It's on the schedule, in the report as the location ALR boundary map. I believe it's a park. I think it's called McKinnon Park or McCleary Park, up and behind that. So it's just kind of bushland. There's some trails through there, and yeah, we were dealing with some ALR issues from some mapping related to the road that's supposed to go through a little bit above that as well. So it's literally just that block of land that I guess it's technically park, it's zone P2, but it's just raw.
Thank you for that. Is it a better process just to do this motion and then Councillor Graham make the following motion, Marty? Would that be the better process? Just let's do this motion and then Councillor Graham can make the second motion? Does that work? Okay. So let's just go, if I'm not going to get challenged, let's go with those in favor of the original motion as worded. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Now, Councillor Graham, would you like to make a motion?
Yeah, you bet. Thank you. Thank you, Chair. I would just like to make a motion that in concert with this application, the city apply to get that P2 land out of the ALR as well, and split the application fee with the Alliance Church.
Motion moved by Councillor Graham, second by Councillor Ray. Discussion? All in favor? Carried. Well done. Process at its best. I'd like to see that. 7:18. Here we go. Thanks, Rob. Thanks, Curtis. Item 8.5. This report is for consideration tonight. It's from our CAO's office regarding a new mayor's task forces, plural. And I'm asking Mark to speak to this item. Mark,
Maybe just if I could,
So you want to do it?
yeah, like the original agenda had this, somehow these two items got flipped. I don't know
Okay,
when
so
that
we'll go
happened.
back to what I have in my notes as 8.6. Yes? Okay, 8.6 in our tablet. It's next up then is a report from the Recreation and Culture Department regarding the Memorial Arena and special events bookings. We have Brendan Bolden from Bolden Engineering here to review the Memorial Arena structural report. Welcome, Brendan. And following that, we'll have more discussion. So Brendan, please provide your overview.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Trevor Thoris, Director of Recreation and Culture. So just a quick brief synopsis on the report you have in front of you. During some routine maintenance, it was noticed that the Memorial Arena glue lamp arches were showing signs of deterioration. Structural engineer, Bolin Engineering beside me, was contracted to perform an assessment of these arches. The structural assessment came back noting signs of structural distress and deterioration. The recommendation from the contractor was the building should not be occupied. This report is in the package you have received and is now a public document. The Memorial Arena has been closed since the report came out. Kinsman Arena is also closed. The Kinsman Arena is next door to the Memorial Arena and shares the same refrigeration plant. This shared refrigeration plant is housed inside the memorial and has been decommissioned for the time being. Staff have worked with Bolin Engineering to build a safe entry procedure into the Memorial Arena. Staff are working with Brandon Bolin tomorrow and the user groups to remove all the personal belongings that are currently housed inside the Memorial Arena. We've also hired Brandon to do a quick feasibility on repairs to the memorial study. This report was not available at time of printing, but it is available now. And we do have Brandon here to discuss findings, if I may.
Please, thank you.
Yeah. So Trevor did a good job of going over the backgrounds. We were contracted to review, as discussed at the last meeting. We were contracted to review the memorial arches. The arches are not in good shape. At the time when the original report was prepared, that was the extent of our scope of work, was just to determine if there was structural issues. There were structural issues. We made our recommendations based on that. After that, we looked into the feasibility of structural repairs. So in order to do that, there was a few things that had to be done. So our staff went into the memorial and took measurements of the existing glue lamp arches and did some excavation next to the building to determine what the foundations look like. And then based on those findings, we did a structural analysis of the existing structure to determine if we could potentially repair the building. I want to qualify before we go into the results of that the review was a structural review only, and it only looks at the feasibility of structurally repairing the building. It does not look at occupant safety, does not look at architectural, does not look at building envelope, does not look at mechanical systems or electrical systems. It is only, there's a structural issue, can we structurally repair the building? So that's kind of the intent and scope of what we were hired to do. So with our structural repair analysis, the existing building, the roof was put on in 1972. Actually, Trevor just showed me some photos from the Historical Society of the roof getting built. So in 1972, the snow loads for the building were significantly lower than they are today. The BC Building Code recognizes the fact that every building is going to become out of date as soon as a new code change happens. And what they do is they consider the building to be grandfathered, provided that there's no change in occupancy, there's no major structural renovation, or the building's not exhibiting significant signs of structural distress. This is significant signs of structural distress, so upgrades have to meet current code. So when we did our analysis on the repairs, the analysis were done with current codes in mind, so that it meets current BC Building Code. so we completed our a conceptual design and analysis, and it looks favorable that we can complete structural repairs on the building. So we looked at two scenarios. We looked at the structural repair of the building with it sitting the way that it is, and then we looked at structural replacement of the roof structure with another structure. Both options are structurally feasible. But that's the extent of as far as we went. Whether or not it's economically feasible, whether or not the other systems within the building are in good shape, we didn't look at any of that stuff. Our limited scope of work was, can we repair this? Structurally, yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. That's it for the initial preview at this point. Okay, thank you. So thank you for that. Can I get a motion that council receive the structural condition review report of Glulam Arches, Cranbrook Memorial Arena, prepared by P.B. Boland, Professional Engineer, Boland Engineering, Inc., dated September 26th, 2023, for information. Moved by Councillor Blissett, seconded by Councillor Ray. Discussion. Councillor Graham.
Thank you. But when will we get a copy of the report that you just read off? I wouldn't mind to have that. I'm going to ask a few questions just based on what I was able to take in from your presentation. I guess the one thing I'm curious about, and I'm fully aware of, we don't want to touch other systems because the minute we touch them, we have to bring them also up to code. So it's looking at fixing the immediate problem. What would be the timeline of that? Like, is that something that's going to put that arena back online this year? Or is this something that it would be put back online for spring hockey / summer lacrosse? Also, did any of that look at shoring up the ice plant to at least get a sheet of ice going at Kinsman while we're still debating how to best do the roof structure?
Those are great questions. Fairly complicated questions. So as far as the report goes, it was submitted today at 4:30 or something like that. So you guys can get a copy of it as soon as it gets distributed. It's in the city's hands right now, so it's available. As to shoring up the existing ice plant, we've discussed this informally. We haven't done a formal review of it, but the danger that's present from the potential collapse of the building prevents anybody from being able to go into the ice plant. And trying to shore something up to be safe from a collapse, structurally, it's not all that feasible to try and do that. The way that this building would collapse, the method that it's going to make when it collapses, the debris that's going to come off of it, it's not something that we can review readily or easily, and how that's going to affect this ice plant, we don't know. And I think that's the reason that that's the reason that the ice plant was decommissioned in the first place, was because of the high variability of how the damage could happen. So no, we didn't look at potentially shoring up. Now, one thing I would like to note is that looking at a potential repair of shoring up these trusses, or strengthening these trusses, or doing something like that, I personally don't see a way of doing that is less invasive or less time constrained than the method that we've actually reviewed here. If I had some more time to prepare, we could have kind of thrown this up to show a graphical illustration of what the repair consists of. I can detail that for you if you want me to. Would that be helpful?
Yeah, I think it would, just for the people in the room. I think they're here for this, not the public hearing earlier.
Yeah, for sure.
Sorry, point of order. This is not a public hearing. Councillor Graham may ask your questions, but this is not a public hearing. Please go on, Bowen.
So basically I've laid it out in the report. Again, you guys don't have a copy of that, so difficult for you to follow along. But structural repair overview would consist of excavation adjacent to the building for new concrete foundations. So we put new concrete foundations between the existing foundations of the Glulam Arches and adjacent to the existing foundation for the wall. We'd place the new reinforced concrete foundations there. Following that, we would do temporary shoring of Glulam Arches to support the vertical loads. This would be done on arch by arch basis. We couldn't really do it overall, depending. We might be able to do a couple of them at a time. Then we would remove the exterior, we would install new steel tension ties across each set of the glulam arches. And what that does is it just removes the horizontal thrust from these things and allows them to kind of work against each other. Then we would remove the deteriorated portion of the truss to the exterior wall. Upon following that, we would install a new vertical column, steel column with a prefabricated steel bracket that would connect to the bottom side of the arch, and then we would install back braces on those columns, and finally cross bracing between the back bracing to handle lateral loads of the building. All of this could be done. The concrete placement could all be done prior to any shoring happening, provided there was active monitoring happening. So I mean, the potential for us to get this done this year, I don't know about the timeline. I do know that a number of community members have approached me, letting me know that they are available and willing to make this happen as soon as possible. So I mean, I think there's significant community support behind it. Whether or not we could have it happen within the next 2 months, within the next 6 months, I don't know. We'd need a contractor to comment on the construction schedule that they could make work.
Nothing further, Councillor Graham. Thank you. Councillor Doucette.
Thank you. So earlier in the report, Director Thors, you said that members of the public will be able to enter the building tomorrow in order to get their equipment. Was that said, or was that my wishful thinking?
Councillor Blissett, no, members of the public will not be able to enter the building.
Okay.
City staff
Okay.
and professionals will enter the building to remove the user groups belongings. So we have been in contact with all the user groups and asked them locations, how to get into these lockers, where all their stuff is, what they want, etc.
But it will be made available to those people tomorrow then?
Yes, that is correct. We are starting tomorrow morning, and we have about a 6-hour window with all professionals involved that we can remove these belongings.
Okay, well, thank you. That's very good to hear. I had hoped it would have been before this meeting, but at least it is tomorrow. So thank you.
Thank you, Trevor. Councillor Stetsky, please.
So 2 questions. So the initial report is available to the public. Is this new report going to be available to the public as well? CEO Furcho?
Acting Mayor to Council, I think like one of the things we've talked about is staff haven't seen this report yet. It wasn't part of the agenda, but it has been introduced into a public meeting. So I'd just ask that we have a resolution by council to make the report public tonight, because we simply haven't seen it yet. So without that, it just kind of falls in a gray zone. So we'll just ask for that resolution when the engineer's done.
Okay, happy to make that resolution. Second question, does it include costing?
No, it doesn't. It's very preliminary in nature. It was a structural feasibility study, not whether or not it was cost effective.
Thank you, Councillor. Oh, sorry, do you have it? No, it's Councillor Graham, Ray, and then Peabody.
Yeah, thank you. I've got a bunch of other questions, but they're more related to a bit later in this report. But a few things, just to keep it in theme of the memorial and the kinsman. This one might be more directed towards Trevor. Judging by the fact that it isn't realistic to shore up the ice plant, are we looking at, or have we considered bringing a portable plant in to run kinsman? Is that possible or not? Can it be tied in? I don't know these things. These are just questions that I've been getting asked. And so is there an option of putting a portable plant on Kinsman so we can get an ice sheet in Kinsman?
Councillor Graham, I mean, there are options, and we have looked into these options, and we are getting quotes and prices for temporary plants. The issue that we are running into is still the structure of the memorial, and making sure that if we continue to go down this path, that the Kinsman Arena is not at risk if there is structural failure from the memorial. So,
yeah, I guess I'm just getting concerned with timelines. We're well over 20 days from when this first appeared, and we're going to be at least 21 days now before people can get stuff out. And this is a high priority for a good portion of the community. And I want to make sure that we are moving ahead with good speed, not, oh, we're going to wait for another council meeting for 2 more weeks to get a few more little dribbits out. And before you know it, it's spring. And now we've got nothing. I guess, the other part of the equation is, if we can get something shored up at Memorial, then we need to have a real conversation about what the future of ice surfaces are in Cranbrook, because the Memorial's not going to last forever. This could maybe be a 5-year fix, but we also need to then look at our 5-year, like, what's beyond this, because, you know, we were faced, or I've been told we sat with this decision in 2008, and here we are again now. So I just want to make sure that we are looking at this full scope, because it is, as is mentioned, an old building. So are we going to continue to invest in it, or are we just going to make it work until we can have a fulsome discussion on what our next steps are with ice surfaces in Cranbrook, which I think is a very important discussion as well. But I am definitely somebody who is wanting to see at least the Kinsman open for ice if we can. Like that to me is a high priority, and I'm only one vote, but you know, like for myself, I think that's critically important, and it helps alleviate some of the pressures that we're facing with just one ice surface.
So the question is, I think, what's the timeline and status of getting ice, whether it's portable or using Memorial or Kinsman, or what are the limiting factors not allowing staff and consultants to go that way?
At this point, Acting Mayor Popoff, I don't have that exact answer. I can tell you that staff are furiously working on a solution every day. This is top priority for recreation and culture, 100%.
Excellent. Thank you, Trevor. Councillor Graham, did you have some more questions, or can I move on for now? Thank you. Councillor Ray.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. I know you touched on this, but I just wondered if you could explain it again. Folks in the community have been hoping that there might be a way to make the ice plant in the Memorial safe, just so we could get some ice going in the Kinsman. So can you explain again where that's at?
Yeah, the ice plant is dangerously close to the existing structure. Trying to create a safe space around it, it's very complicated. We're not. The issue that we're running into is the requirement for inspection of the ice plant, as well as, you know, the safe entry to the ice plant. According to Technical Safety BC, was it every 2 hours, Trevor?
Yeah,
Yeah. Every 2 hours, somebody has to go in there. So the idea that we could, you know, monitor that for somebody to walk in there every 2 hours to ensure that there's no ammonia issues, it's not feasible. It doesn't work. The idea of trying to create some sort of structure to strengthen this ice plant housing so that it resists the collapse of this massive arena next to it.
Right.
Again, not really feasible. I think we've presented a pretty good option for repair of what's been damaged in order to remove the potential for danger, and in order to reinstate the structural stability. In our minds, if there was a better solution, I would have looked at it. I would have done the analysis. Not that there aren't better solutions out there, but to my mind, I haven't seen one. I haven't heard one yet. This is the fastest repair, the quickest timeline to try and get this problem dealt with. Would be this temporary repair. I mean, a permanent repair would be great, but it's obviously going to have an increased timeline. And like Councillor Graham said, it's a high priority for a lot of the community.
I follow it. Thank you. 2 questions in one. Perfect scenario, contractors were available, etc. How long would it take to complete those repairs?
Again, I don't know exactly the time. It's going to depend on the staging of construction, how many people can actually get activated to do the work,
Okay.
and how we, it's going to be the availability of the contractors.
Okay.
But again, with the community support that we've been hearing, it's hopeful anyways.
Final hypothetical part 2 question. How, if we were able to complete those repairs, what would be the lifespan on them?
It's difficult to say, but the existing, it's difficult to say because our investigation into these glulam arches was limited. We couldn't take a saw and cut through the entire width of them and see exactly how damaged they are. We do small drill holes, all holes, to get a sampling of what the issue is. That being said, the majority of the damage, the majority of the deterioration is in the bottom of these arches. Close to the building, doesn't appear to be any deterioration or minimal signs of it. So with that in mind, they were installed in 1972. When we went inside and drilled holes in the arches, they're just as strong as they seem to be in 1972. So if we can remove the weather component from them, I don't see a reason why the deterioration should continue. The timeline on the deterioration of the building, other components or other structural components, I don't know. We haven't done a full review of the building. We just reviewed the arches. But to my mind, if we can have a good building envelope repair that eliminates the weather component from them, structural repair that reinstates the structural capacity of the building, I don't see any issue with building longevity or with doing continuous repairs of the building and extending its lifespan.
Thank you.
Excellent hypothetical questions. Councillor Peabody.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. I think Councillor Blissett touched on my question, but it seems to me that in 2008, it was basically they did a Band-Aid repair just to prolong prolong the inevitable. This roof was sort of at its end of life already, and they just tried to figure something out to give it a few more years. And I just want to make sure that the repairs that you're suggesting here is not just doing the same thing of just giving the roof another 15 to 20 years. And then the council at the time is doing the same thing that we are. But I think you answered that what you're suggesting is a fix, not a patch job.
It is, but I mean, you can't really understate the importance of regular maintenance and regular repairs to the building. The roofing on that building should be reviewed continuously. The building envelope of that building should be reviewed. Repair and maintenance is a very important part of a building structure. You can't expect that we're going to build a building and it's just going to last for 100 years if we leave it alone. The repair and maintenance program that is done over a building's life will greatly impact its service life. So we could do all of these repairs. Nobody could do any maintenance to the building and it could deteriorate over the next 25 years and need to be replaced. Or we could do the repairs. We could have a great maintenance and service plan for the building. The roofing could be repaired, the caulking could be repaired every time that it's needed, and that could be taken care of, and the service life for the building could be significantly extended. So it's not a great answer to your question, but I don't see any reason why we are introducing issues that are going to cause it to deteriorate over the next 20 or next 5 years. But that being said, negligence, it could.
Okay, and supplemental, if I may. So I would direct this question at CEO Mark Furcho. So the next step after we receive this report, what, or maybe Trevor, you can answer this too. What's the next step here? What's coming back to council in the next meeting?
Councillor Peabody. So after receiving this report and staff is going to take it and build out some costing estimates and timelines and bring it back to council. I mean, I think that's the only right thing to do right now.
Councillor Teske.
So I guess we'll vote on the first one very shortly, but in terms of releasing the report to the public, CEO Furcho, when will it be available to the public? Just so I make my motion fairly reasonable.
It's the same thing as what we have here. So I think if council goes with the first recommendation, that's fine for the report that we received when they originally closed the building. And then I just suggest a second motion. We could talk about the wording that council receive the second structural condition report introduced at tonight's council meeting. Because literally, like, as I said, staff, we haven't seen the report yet. We're just asked the engineer to be here to speak to it in order that it gets done as quickly as possible. And then that gives us the ability to, as soon as we receive it from the engineer, we'll post it on the website with the amended agenda that it's a public document now. So I'll ask Marnie just for specific wording, but it'll be something to the effect of that council received the second structural condition review report at the whatever council meeting, October, what is today, the 16th, October 16th, 2023 meeting.
And be available to the public when?
It would become a public document. Once we receive it, we'll just attach it to the agenda. So it's just a matter of whenever we get it. Well, that way council's taking care of the fact that it is now a public document once we receive it.
Okay, let's call for the first motion that council receive the structural condition review report of Glue Lamb Arches Cranbrook Memorial Arena, prepared by B. Bolin, Professional Engineer, Bolin Engineering Incorporated, dated September 26, 2023 for information. I believe it's already been moved and seconded. So we just that's the refresher. Thank you. Those in favor? Those opposed? That is carried. I recognize Councillor Stetsky.
I believe Marnie was preparing the subsequent motion.
So we'll just go with that. Council received the second structural condition assessment report prepared by B. Bolin, P. Bolin Engineering, Inc. at the October 16th regular council meeting.
Councillor Stetsky, is that what you meant to do as your motion? Thank you very much. Can I get a seconder? Councillor Blissett. Question? Councillor Graham.
Yeah, just a couple things I'm just curious about. Now that our staff's going to get this report, is there an opportunity that we have information or costing done before October 30th? I'm just curious. Like, I would have no problem having a special meeting if we needed to, just to show the urgency of this. Timeline personally, I just feel like another 2 weeks drives by and you might have it done in a week. So I'm just curious to know if that's possible. I know that there's a lot of community support behind getting it done, whether it's contractors coming in to look at it or at least give us some rough numbers. So I would hope that we would have something well before next council meeting. And if we needed to have a special meeting to look at costs, I wouldn't be opposed to that. Is that a consideration?
Councillor Graham. So yeah, the recreation and culture staff this is our top priority at this point. We are going to now solicit costs and get timelines. So if we do receive numbers in advance, we can always work with Marnie and do a special agenda for sure.
And I guess my other question is just around our purchasing policy. Because this is an emergency situation, or is it something that we're going to have to put out to RFP? We're going to wait for a month for somebody to come back with different cost proposals? Or is this something that we would look at and sole source, get the job done? Or is this a process that would be 6 weeks caught up in RFP?
I think so. Councillor Graham, I guess the short answer to that would be council can override council policies, but once we cross 75,000, I think for consulting and services, it crosses into the new West Partnership Trade Agreement, and that's international law. We can't breach that, and we'd have to find out the rules around what considers an emergency in that case, and it may be limited to life, health, safety. So it just depends. We'll have to have a look at that, but we would certainly consider that for sure.
Good questions. Thank you. Anything further? So to vote on the second motion, all in favor? Opposed? And that's carried. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. There's now a part 2 to this. The second part of the report deals with the progress of transferring ICE bookings to Western Financial Place and to seek direction on facility priorities. I'll ask Trevor Thorne, Director, Recreational Culture, to provide some wisdom on this, please.
Maybe I'll just start, Acting Mayor, is just the this second half. Typically, event bookings are an administrative function. It's for purely operational. But with the loss of the 2 ice sheets and then the competition for ice space in the community, we felt that it becomes more of a policy level decision, giving the priorities. It's sort of outside of staff's purview because, really if staff follow guidelines, staff could be subject to criticism for holding events and subject to criticism for not holding events. So that then tells me it needs to be a policy level decision to give us that high level direction. So I'd ask Trevor to include this next section in the report for tonight. So I'll let him introduce it then.
Looking on some direction for special events. So just a couple of motions for council. And the current events we have booked inside Western Financial Place, that council directs staff as follows. A, maintain current booking special events inside the Western Financial Place, or B, cancel the currently booked special events inside Western Financial Place to make additional ice time available to other user groups.
So thank you, Trevor. Actually, Trevor read the motion. Did you want to speak to it at all, or we'll just put this to the mover and seconder and ask for discussion? Okay, so we'll do that. Mover and seconder on option A or option 2, or maybe a possible option 3 as a motion. A mover, please. Councillor Peabody, seconded Councillor Stetsky.
What are they moving?
Councillor Peabody, would you like to move one or?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that we maintain and currently booked special events inside Western Financial Place.
And a seconder for that, Councillor Ray. Okay, now we can have discussion on option A. Who would like to go first? Councillor Peabody.
Thank you. Trevor, with if we do maintain the currently booked special events, how many days or evenings of ice time are we losing?
Councillor Peabody, currently each one of these events is a 24-hour booking. So the night prior to the current event, we would finish our bookings at 10 or 11:15. We would do our conversion, have the event the full next day, and do our conversion after that event. And the ice would be ready the following day for as early as 8 a.m.
Okay, and I think you mentioned there's 2 events booked, right?
Correct, that is correct.
Yeah, so I think the way I'm looking at this, at the potential of losing, what is it, almost $70,000 of taxpayers' money for 2 days of ice time. I am in favor of keeping the 2 events that we have proposed. I can't say I'm in favor of trying to go after future events, but I did have a supplemental question. With these events, would it be possible to donate the revenue of the events to the roof repair to make it like a fundraising event with the 2 that are here?
Councillor Peabody, I'm not 100% on all of the financials within the city's policies, but I can definitely take that back and discuss.
Excellent, thank you. Councillor Grimm, did you have your hand up first? Well, before that, I have Councillor Ray first, and then Councillor Stetsky.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Acting Mayor. In the report, you've noted that the cancellation fees for current events is in the amount of $126,000. I think that figure in and of itself probably speaks pretty powerfully to most people. And I know there's been some, questions about could the Christmas farmers market be moved to another location? But I think because of the size of the event, the number of vendors, the number of people who come to that event, I don't think it's probably realistic to look at another venue. So for this first motion, yeah, I support continuing with these specific events that have already been booked. I don't think it's in the best interest of the community to lose $126,000 by canceling these events. And then we'll talk about the second motion as a separate discussion.
Thank you, Councillor Teske.
So just for clarity, because we don't always make money on our events, I very much support continuing with the farmers market because it's local. Generally in favor of trying to provide as much ice time to our local community as possible. So I'm also though interested in if you can just talk about what events would be canceled outside of the farmers market and whether we lose money or make money on those events generally. And I know you're crystal balling a bit, but we don't always make money on our events.
Councillor Stetsky, so the two events in question for cancellation, which are currently on sale, are the Glorious Sons concert on November 16th and the Holiday Spectacular, which is December 5th. Yeah, you are correct. We don't always make money on our events, but we do try and create that experience for the community as well as bring in tourism dollars. So those people that are coming to our events are visiting restaurants and staying in hotels and whatnot. We do our best to not lose money, and we have various forms of doing our job correctly to minimize losses.
Is it possible to reschedule those two events without losing the money we've promised them?
Councillor Stetsky, no, those can't be rescheduled or moved. It's they're part of a tour.
Councillor Graham.
Yeah, thank you. I'm also in favor of keeping what we have booked. Like they've been on the books, and I understand the canceling. I guess one question I have with the farmers market is, would it not be possible to do that in the soccer dome? Like I know that Kisa's got a big space there. That might be one option. That might even work great. We've done a lot for Kisa. Has that been asked? And has it been mentioned at the farmers market to see if that would be a possibility?
Councillor Graham, we've had multiple discussions with the farmers market, talked about other locations, College of the Rockies, the Kinsman Arena, and nothing compares to the size of Western Financial Place. Specifically, Kisa hasn't been brought up, but that is another conversation to be had.
I have Councillor Bissett and Councillor Peabody. Oh, sorry, was there supplemental? Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, I guess, but I question because Kisa's a big area, so I think it's definitely warranted to have the conversation with them because it's a big open surface. So I would definitely encourage that conversation because it is bigger than the college gym and it is bigger than Kinsman. I don't know if it's bigger than the Western Financial ice surface area, but it's got to be close. Like it's a big dome structure. So it might be something worth having that conversation with. And that would open up a little bit of time and still provide a good spot for the farmers market. It's just over one building. It's still in the same spot for town.
Thank you, Councillor Graham. Now, Councillor Bissett.
Well, thank you. One of the things in reviewing this motion in maintaining the current events, I was thinking about the number of people impacted, and it's quite significant. As far as, you know, probably a few thousand people attending those, the concert as well as the second event, the Christmas Spectacular. And then, of course, all the vendors that have been working all year on the Christmas market, preparing for it. So I do think it is important for our community to maintain those. It is another story, though, about booking future events because we haven't planned that yet. So I am in favor of this part of the motion.
Councillor Peabody.
Thank you, Councillor Popoff. Just to quickly add on to Councillor Graham's suggestion, if the Kisa area is not large enough, could you split it between the soccer dome and the curling rink? Because they're adjacent to each other, it'd be super easy to go from one location to the other.
Anything further? Trevor, on the note of using the Kisa Sports Dome, I've heard in conversations through the community, we all need to, recognizing the circumstances, we all need to compromise and make the best fit for everything and everybody. It may not be ideal, but we can work with it. So maybe if we are going to have conversations with Kisa, it may not be ideal, but can they work with it? And it might be something interesting to bring or to make a decision on. You don't need to bring that back to us. We're all dealing with times of compromise right now, and I think it's important we as a community all strive for how we can compromise and achieve suitable goals for everybody. So maybe we can work with that. Sorry, other questions? Okay, so this was part one. The motion is to maintain the current booked special events inside Western Financial. Discussion, those in favor? Those opposed? Carried. Okay, next for discussion. We're not done yet. For discussion and direction of staff regarding event bookings inside Western Financial Place, can we get a mover and a seconder for one of the two possible motions? That council directs staff as follows: A, to continue to book rental requests for special event opportunities inside Western Financial Place, or B, to stop seeking special event opportunities inside Western Financial Place and make the additional ice time available for other user groups. First, Councillor Stetsky, second.
I move B.
B? Is that the one, Councillor Stetsky? Sorry, folks, I'm starting to lose it here. Yeah, it's 8 o'clock. Okay, can we have some discussion on that? Or Trevor, did you want to speak to it first? Councillor Doucette. Did you want to speak to this first, Trevor? Thank you.
Yes, Acting Mayor Popoff. So special events aren't something that just happened tomorrow. So we talk about the events that are currently on sale and those that aren't on sale. Well, we have verbal agreements to do events. We don't have written contracts, which means they're cancelable. So yes, we did hear about the monster truck show that was coming here in January. So we verbally agreed to do that in June of this year. So, we look at doing future events. They're not booked, 60 days out, 90 days out. They're booked sometimes 6 months, 8 months, 12 months out. We have holds for 2025. So shows that want to come to Western Financial Place in 2025. If we make a decision that we're going to stop seeking these events and we change our mind to start seeking events, understand that the decisions we make today affect us 6, 8, 12 months down the road, not just for January and February.
Thanks, Trevor. Councillor Stetsky.
Yeah, I can appreciate that, but the community needs to be a priority until end of April. That's when the hockey season, figure skating season, et cetera, finishes generally. So we should look at booking events after the ice goes out.
Thank you for that statement. Councillor Ray.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. Yeah, I would echo that comment. I see this as an interim measure. And, as you said, excuse me, your team is, full out looking at options in terms of managing, seeing what we can do with the memorial. So I see this as a really important interim measure. And, the events we're having and the momentum we've been gaining at Western Financial Place are fantastic. But for the moment, I think we need to prioritize, in my mind, particularly the kids and the youth. Somebody reminded me today that these kids have gone through COVID, and what a, tough experience they've had. And so I think really prioritizing physical activity, but also mental health is really, really key. And I see it as an interim measure, and that hopefully we'll get going on all cylinders again and be able to go hard again about looking at potential events. But for me, I think it's the right thing to do to say in particular that we're prioritizing our youth in this regard.
Thank you, Councillor Graham.
Yeah, thank you. I'm also on the same sentiment. Unfortunately, I think this is going to be a little longer haul than a few months. You know, listening to the report and looking at ways to shore this up, we could be one ice surface for a year, maybe 2 years. So I think the priority is keeping the ice in and working with our user groups, and we'll reevaluate concerts. Cranbrook's been in the bad books before with concert promoters. We've worked ourselves out. We can work ourselves out again. But I think there is a bit of sentiment there that these promoters fully understand the issues too that we face. We have arenas down, and we have to change things up. So we aren't booking other than what we've committed to. So I'm totally in favor of the pause on shows until we can get some more information and where we are moving forward.
Thank you, Councillor Graham. Trevor, I have a question or two. So you mentioned verbal agreements this season. I mean, what's the number between now and March, like ballpark?
Currently, we are looking at 2 additional events.
Over and above
between-
the ones we've already got confirmed?
Correct.
Okay, so 2 events between now and March, and that's a full 24-hour period that we'd have to shut down Western Financial?
So monster trucks would be a 4-day.
Okay.
4 days shut down, and the concert would be a 24-hour.
5 days. Okay, thank you.
Correct.
So if we were to shut down these 2 verbal agreements, does that mean then we can have our hockey club start hosting tournaments and utilizing those spaces for hosting tournaments, because now we have a 4-day window for Western Financial Place? Does that open up the window for hockey tournaments rather than just general ice use?
Acting Mayor Popoff. So in discussions with minor hockey, and obviously down to 1 ice sheet, minor hockey is struggling to get their obligated 2.25 hours of ice time per week per player registered. So adding tournaments to the mix, we've had these discussions. It is tough to say that 1 or 2 teams get the entire ice for the weekend versus the masses. So I believe minor hockey themselves is taking that approach of not running any or many tournaments this season.
Thank you. So it's not for hosting more tournaments, which is what we've been hearing from part of the community. Well, we're unfortunately, the tournaments may just not be a reality for this season, but at least it'll host ice time for the masses. So that's good to hear. Councillor Peabody.
Thank you, Councillor Popoff. Sorry, Trevor, just for clarification, the monster truck event is in June? Is that, or in January?
Councillor Peabody, it was verbally agreed upon in June of 2023 for January of 2024.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, sorry. Would you like to be councillor today or just CAO? CAO first.
No, thank you. I just want to make that point that what Trevor said, if that's clear, that whether or not these events go forward isn't the tipping point between having tournaments or not. There's other factors that are at play at causing the decisions around tournaments. It's not these events.
Excellent, thank you. So seeing no further hands, let's call the favor or the question. The motion is to stop seeking special event opportunities inside Western Financial Place and make the additional ice time available to other user groups. Those in favor? Those opposed? And that's carried. Thank you, Trevor. Trevor, was there anything else on ice time utilization that you want to talk about, or no? No? Thank you, Trevor. Okay. So now we're on the final report. The final report for consideration tonight is from our CAO's office regarding the new mayor's task forces. I'll ask Mark to speak to this item.
Okay, thank you.
If folks want to head out from the gallery right now, is your opportunity.
Yeah, we
looking at
really
you,
won't be
Nathan.
offended. It's boring government stuff.
Give you a 10-second head start. Thanks, folks, for showing up. Appreciate it. Thank you. Mark, please go ahead.
All right, thank you. So acting mayor, I guess, just introducing this is we did have a discussion in committee of the whole in September, just around tasks or council committees. But at this point in time, what I wanted to do is bring this item forward, just given some urgency around getting some things started in two specific areas. So one is, I'll just start with an introduction. One's a mayor's task force on homelessness in Cranbrook, and secondly, a mayor's task force for housing in Cranbrook. And I'll just say that although some of the verbiage is the same, they have two distinctly different portfolios. One is around more of the social issues and homelessness and that bent, whereas the housing one is more focused on all spectrums of housing, right from homeless shelters all the way through the missing middle, rental accommodations to market housing in Cranbrook. So I just, first off, I want to just talk about the term mayor's task force. So it's a common term, but meant to distinguish between what council and what the community might be used to, which is a statutory committee of council or a standing committee of council, which are an ongoing committee. A mayor's task force in the legal term is called a select committee of council under the community charter. The intent being it has a specific purpose to achieve specific things over a very specific period of time. And then once those things are achieved, the committee is dissolved by council. It's just to get some things done. And so what I'm proposing here tonight is, first off, we'll talk about either, but the mayor's task force on homelessness, and Marcel's here, we can speak a little on that. And maybe we'll just start with that one, but then the mayor's task force on housing, I'll just speak a little bit more to it before we get into that discussion with council. So Marcel, would you like to just talk a little bit, just briefly, on what a mayor's task force on homelessness would look like?
Well, basically, since I've come into the role, there's been a lot of consultation and discussion with all the organizations and resources in Cranbrook that are struggling with or trying to manage the homelessness issue, the opioid crisis, the mental health, the loneliness. Oh, there's a lot going on out there. And there is also a lot of really good services that are busy servicing the people that are experience homelessness and poverty at this time. What there isn't is that next rung up the ladder. There is very little actionable, structured programming or anything that gets people actually out of housing, out of homelessness and out of poverty and moving up the rung, entering the housing continuum, entering employment, entering things like that. And so I think align with the task force that as one person, it's very difficult to get things moving at a quick pace. There's a lot of ground to cover. A task force where I think there's a lot of interest out in a community for people to come together, to leaders to come together. We identify 3 or 4, maybe 5 top priority action items in the community based from the CAO and the mayor's perspective of what that fits the community's priorities. And we focus on those, creating the plans and the steps and the structures that make them happen. So at the end of the time where this task force knows it's done its job, these things are up and running, they're in play, we can quantify them and qualify them with positive results. And I do believe that there's a lot of discussion out there, which I've been a part of good ideas that we could bring to the table with concentrated focus. And if we have this task force that has members from across the sectors, and we're drawing in the whole community, we're all facing one direction and looking at these solutions. We all know what the problems are. Now we want to look at the solutions and put them into place. I think it would be beneficial when move the work forward in a much quicker fashion.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Marcel. So Mark, you want to do this one?
Yeah,
one at a time?
I just want to cover it a little bit because I know what the questions are going to be. So, or I got a pretty good idea what you guys are going to ask. So one thing is the mayor's task force on homelessness. So the mayor would make the selection of the membership, and then that group would get together and start working on what the terms of reference might be, and like loosely. So then we bring forward to council for approval what this group is to do, who the members are, and moving forward, because then it's a formalized task force approved by council. Right now, we're just asking for the approval to create this, and then we'll come back. Similarly with the housing one, the membership, the tasks to be achieved, timelines will go away. We'll get the mayor to appoint some of the membership within the expertise in the local community, and then come back to you with what we would like to, the scope, the terms of reference, all of that to be achieved. So we would like rather than us in isolation coming up with what those terms of reference are, what to be achieved, is grabbing that expertise in the community under the guidance of the mayor and then coming back to council. So that just gets both of these moving. The housing one, same thing. There's some local practitioners we feel would be good at advising Cranbrook. So it's everything from should we, as we try to improve housing options in Cranbrook, in addition to the work that staff are doing, should there be a local housing authority? Should there be a housing corporation? Might a regional body of housing corporation be the best option? Attaching ourselves to a nonprofit housing society, as some communities done, is that the best option? Simply working together with staff with the existing groups. There's experts in the community and people out there right now that can help us bring that information back to council, that we'd like to engage in a more formalized way under the direction of the mayor to do that. And that's, like I said, it's about addressing all the issues of housing in Cranbrook. So not limited to homeless shelters, subsidized housing. It's about market rental housing. It's about market housing. And it's also about that missing middle. So the grant opportunity that's out there right now from BC Housing, we're meeting with BC Housing tomorrow morning, and then talk about options around what you saw in Fernie with what they called that worker housing that was attached to the childcare center. Could that work for Cranbrook? Or maybe do we morph that into something that might take care of that issue that we've identified with the low-income seniors being at the Travel Lodge for a low-income seniors housing? And I believe that's what BC Housing wants to chat about in the morning. We simply don't have that vehicle to move forward with that we would formalize and bring forward under this model. So that's why I just wanted to create the separation between those two, and why I'm asking for this committees to be created now ahead of membership, terms of reference, all that other stuff that you'd expect typically to be in front of you.
Excellent, thank you. So shall we do one motion at a time? Yes, let's do one motion at a time. So can I get a motion that council receive the report from the CAO's office regarding the council committee and direct staff to create one mayor's task force on homelessness in Cranbrook? Can I have a mover, Councillor Ray, a seconder, Councillor Stetsky? Discussion on the homelessness task force. Councillor Graham.
Yeah, thank you. Just in the scope of what we do as local government and our main priorities as local government, how does the task force on homelessness meet that criteria unless we're more focused on public safety and enforcement?
I think part of the task force, the biggest one of it is to keep me online too, because I tend to be the doer and try to get in there and do stuff. And so I think that we're trying to do, create programs that are community owned. So I'm coordinating with other resources and other sectors within the city to support, and to the other leaders would be from those things. So we're all coming together and each group is moving forward, like I said, in the same direction. It helps. It's the coming together of lots of ideas and brains and coming up with the best solution and moving forward, which then the city is engaged in. We are being part of that. We are showing support for. But at the end of the day, it will be the other organizations that's carrying the work forward. Then once we know that whatever we're working on that the city is supporting is up and running, the city now, their job is done. They're back out of it. And the other organizations are continuing the work forward.
And I guess my follow-up question on that is with the other groups, like I know Councillor Popoff, you were on the Social Planning Committee. Councillor Stetsky is now on it. Now, how is this different than that when we sit down with those folks? None of them really have money to actually accomplish what gets discussed, and we are at the table. How is this table different than, say, social planning, and how do we get measurable outcomes out of this? That's kind of what I'm looking at, as well as what is our mandate as council and as a city. And I'll reference back to public safety for our citizens and enforcement.
Pardon? Sure.
Just so Marcel did look at the social planning committee as a vehicle to achieve what you just discussed. And we need something that's a lot more focused and in control within council. So I guess number one is we will maintain within the scope of municipal responsibilities, not stray from that to take on provincial and federal responsibilities. That's been the mainstay of our mandate all the way along. However, there is a greater need for coordination of what we do in the community, as Marcel's position was intended to do, but we do need more resources there. And I guess what I'll say is we're reaching out to communities all over, looking at best practices regarding homeless issues. No community anywhere has solved it. Anybody that is finding any kind of progress in any front is what we're looking at, potentially looking at how we can do that in Cranbrook. And it's simply more than what one individual can achieve. And I guess if I just use one quick example, maybe the DART one from Prince George, for example, so in Prince George, for example, a drug addicted fellow started a small company that then was able to get contracts to do work in the city and for a number of different organizations. And then it was only hiring other recovering addicts, and that peer supported group could help the other members as they went through their challenges to do that work. Now, to get something up and running in Cranbrook like that, there isn't a body here to do that, but maybe we could be the facilitator to get something like that going. Just that's one small example. Marcel's probably got like 400 of those, but anyway, that was the point. But all communities everywhere are in this same boat where a lot of these issues that are coming about because of homelessness, drug addiction, and crime are struggling. There is no solution, but there are best practices going on out there that we should be monitoring and adapting in Cranbrook as best we can. And this is the support we need to do that. I think all communities everywhere are sort of stepping a little bit outside of what municipalities normally do in water, sewer, and garbage in trying to tackle this, but we don't want to assume responsibility from the province and the federal government, because as a local government, we simply can't afford to get into social services or social housing.
And just one more add on to that is also that the new model, the model of silos and doing it your own and competing for dollars and all that, it doesn't work anymore. So the idea if we can bring together leaders from different sectors that are, and we're all agreeing and we're sharing them and we're pooling our resources and sharing, and there's no competition. We are now in alignment, not competing with each other for dollars. I really think we have a greater success rate and a bigger impact.
Thank you. Maybe a little optimistic, but I wish you well with that. Councillor Stetsky.
So homelessness and housing are two of the top issues in Cranbrook. We certainly need to move from identifying the issues to action, and so I very much support proceeding with both of these committees.
Okay, so let's have a vote on the first motion, Mayor's Task Force on Homelessness in Cranbrook. All in favor? And opposed. That's carried. Thank you. Mark, did you want to speak at all on the Mayor's Task Force, or should we just put that out? I'll just put that out for questions. Anyone have any questions on the Mayor's Task Force for housing in Cranbrook? Councillor Bissett.
I'm assuming that staff will be involved in this as well, because I mean, one of the issues I think that we've discussed at this table before is sometime, like, we have approved some housing projects, but they're getting bogged down. And so certainly putting a mayor's task force together on housing seems to indicate that that is a priority, and that needs to translate to be a priority for our entire organization. So can I assume that will happen?
Acting Mayor through to Councillor Bissett, absolutely. So I guess if I had staff presenting on this topic, if we wanted to have a more robust conversation, as if you recall last summer, when the Housing Accelerator Fund was announced, we essentially pulled all our staff resources in towards achieving all of the planning required to move forward with taking advantage of that grant money to improve the housing. We're now desperately waiting for the federal government's announcement around that, but we are you're going to be hearing about the housing needs assessment next week. We've got that presentation coming, so that report is now completed. And in Mike's department, housing is the #1 priority. And I guess if I could say one thing is we would like to be unleashed, so to speak, in a few areas, but that Housing Accelerator Fund announcement is something that we're waiting for in order to move forward on a few things. But the whole process is a major priority for the city, and it was identified by council in the top 5 priorities for this year, and as an organization as well. We completely understand and are looking for this as just one more aspect of support.
Good, thank you. No further questions. All in favor of the task force on housing?
I don't think we've made that motion yet, Acting Mayor. I'd be happy to make the motion.
Moved by Councillor Ray, seconded by Councillor Peabody for the housing task force. Sorry, folks, I'm losing it. We've had our discussion. Now, then we made the motion. Should have done it the other way. Okay, those in favor? Opposed? Thank you. So thank you to staff for bringing this forward. I think we're finally moving from talk to action, and that's exactly the right direction we want to be within a city. So good on you for that. We're moving now to administration updates. We have one administration update from the Fire and Emergency Services Department regarding the Q3 2023 call volume. Is Scott around, and will he please provide a brief overview of the update? That's what it says in my notes.
I am here, yes. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, Scott.
Fantastic. So, thank you to Council and Acting Mayor for having me. I'm here to provide my third quarter update, which covers the summer months of July, August, and September. As everyone is aware, we had a very busy summer with calls that impacted a lot of the community, and I wouldn't mind taking this opportunity just to share my condolences on behalf of my staff, myself, and the staff of the City of Cranbrook to the Acom community who experienced a devastating wildfire on July 17th. As we all know, they lost 7 homes, which equates to 10% of their community's housing. And most of the community was out of their home for more than 3 weeks this summer. So very, very challenging times for our friends and neighbors in Acom. And I just wanted to express our condolences to them. Noting that and talking about an update for what happened over the summer is that we did have an ever increasing number of calls over the summer, 575 in the 3 months. To note, I think it's really important to recognize that calls like the Acom fire, however extraordinary they are, there was hundreds and hundreds of hours of overtime that we had to put in just to maintain the service out in the community during the wildfire until the province was able to come in and relieve us from that. While we maintained the regular level of service that our very busy city is requiring from us in the fire service. And so over the course of the summer, we had, like I said, we had 575 calls. Paired up with the first and the second quarter of the year, that puts us on target for 2,300 calls this year, which likely will be 36% over what we had last year. So like I said, we're increasing in our level of busyness. The summer wildfire season was certainly driven by some of the drought conditions that are also driving our stage 4 water restrictions that were going on in the city, because the wildfire problem is definitely exacerbated by drought. I will commend the Acom community and the fantastic work that they did in the early part of summer and the late part of spring when they did the prescribed fire. I can honestly say as a fire chief that prescribed burning mitigation work that they did in their community, 1,200 hectares near the airport, certainly did mitigate the impact of the wildfire that they experienced. And to state that, or to share that we're doing similar work like that around the city of Cranbrook, I'm happy to say that it works, and I've seen it firsthand. And so that's my report, and the rest is in the written admin update.
Thank you, Scott. Councillor Graham?
Yeah, just one quick question there, Scott. In regards to the overtime with the wildfires, is there a provision in the contract that we're able to recover some of that cost via our contract holders or the province, or is that overtime borne on the Cranbrook taxpayer?
Yeah. So I'm happy to say that the agreement that we have with the province of British Columbia in this case for this fire, because it started outside our protection boundaries, was compensated by the province. So we were able to bill back our time for that.
Thank you, Scott. Other questions for Scott? Scott, thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks for your report. Thank you very much. Okay, that takes us now to correspondence. We have those two additional items, so you should have 7 on your tablet. 12.1 is correspondence from Wendy Oroziki Vanderweyer, received September 22nd, regarding out-of-city seniors parking passes, requesting out-of-city seniors receive parking passes. Does anyone want to discuss this?
Receive for information.
Receive for information. All in favor? Pass. Thank you. To 12.2 correspondence, James Clark, permanent concrete barriers. Just, we have some staff in the room. I'd like to hear from staff a little bit about the circumstances of why this is on 14th and 4th Street, Curtis. I've had some phone calls, and maybe others as well. I would be a little surprised that all of a sudden we have a barrier and there's other things happening in that location. Maybe the public can learn just what the plan is for that location. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Acting Mayor Popoff. The plan for 4th Street North and Kootenay Street and 14th Avenue, part of the design, we engaged a traffic engineer for the project, knowing from previous studies at that intersection there are issues with collisions and usage. So the plan is, and the reason why it's coming up right away is we put a center divider median on 4th Street North to limit the amount of turning movements in directions people can travel on 14th Ave North and 4th Street North. The purpose for this is to reduce the number of conflict points, it's called in traffic engineering, so to reduce the number of collisions that can occur. And part of that stems from we're actually going to look at installing as part of this project, we will be installing a 4-way stop at Kootenay Street and 4th due to the number of vehicular movements in each direction is warranted at this point. So if we start having people moving in a 4-way stop configuration at 4th and Kootenay Street, we needed to do something at 14th and 4th as well.
Thank you, Curtis. Questions? Councillor Graham?
Thank you. I feel like I'm filling in for you because you normally talk the most, and I'm in your spot. This is a seat. Yeah, I've seen kind of what's happened there and had a few people commented on me, and I really don't have a lot of faith in traffic engineers. They're built for Kelowna, Vancouver, and Victoria. I think in rural settings, they don't necessarily apply their knowledge practically, and I have no problem saying that. And I think that's going to cause a lot of issues with not being able to do a left turn out of there, and we will get a lot of complaints about it. I myself don't think it makes any sense to me on that. There is traffic there, but it's not like it's an insanely busy intersection turn. It is at certain points of the day, but I don't know if it warrants it throughout the whole day. So I definitely am not in favor of it. It's already there. I'm just letting you know I don't like it.
Curtis, did you want to comment on that? Probably not. Have we had, so you mentioned conflict points, but have there been any accidents in the last 24 months, 12 months? Have there been any accidents, any people getting injured? I mean, is this a high priority area because we have the last period of time we have record of accidents and injuries?
There have been accidents there, Acting Mayor Popoff. I just don't know the time span on how many exactly in front of me right now, unfortunately. But coming to Councillor Graham, some of his points, when we're looking at intersections for design, we always, it's like the transportation and the bus routes, we have to design for the peak travel time. So most of the day it may not warrant it, but at those peak times, we need to make sure people can maneuver and act safe. And that doesn't mean that all things that we're doing in Vancouver, Seattle make sense in Cranbrook, but because some of the stuff we did look at was a big roundabout and buying 2 houses, but that doesn't really make sense for Cranbrook. So we went with something that was, we thought from a staff level was more feasible to defend.
Very good. Thank you, Councillor Stetsky.
Yeah, just going to suggest we receive this for information and then worry about it when the complaints come in.
Seconded by Councillor Peter. Do you want to speak? You're not going to second that?
Yeah. Thank you, Councillor Popoff. You mentioned about putting a 4-way stop in the intersection on Kootenay Street and 4th Avenue North or 4th Street North. How come you're looking at putting a 4-way stop, which sort of inhibits the flow of traffic compared to like a roundabout?
Thank you, Councillor Peabody. Part of that comes down to the distance between the intersections. We did look at doing a roundabout and incorporating it all, but the size of it and the amount of property acquisition we would need to make it maneuverable, even just for normal vehicles and not large vehicles. It was substantial and quite a major upgrade. So we tried to go with something reasonable that would work for at least 25, 30 years.
Thank you. So I understand that the barricade is already in and the plan's already in the works for the four-way stop. So really, we're just accepting this as information. Okay, very good. 12.3, correspondence from Tom Shapitka, thanking us for including him in the letter to the Minister of Housing received for information. Thank you. Correspondence 12.4. Cranbrook History Center requesting a letter of support from council for the Rural Economic Development Infrastructure Development Grant. Councillor Stetsky.
If it needs a motion, I'll make a motion that the city provide that letter of support.
Seconded by Councillor Ray. Discussion. I know Councillor Peabody, you're the liaison to the Cranbrook History Center. Did you have any comments on this?
I think the only comments I have is that it is going to a good cause. One of the major things is that they have to bring their building up to code, and they can't do that work without having the engineering report. So a portion of this funding that they're applying for is for that project. Also, further down the road, they're looking at the third stage of the freight shed going over the rail cars. And they're also looking at doing some community consultation about the future of the railroad or the history center and what they want to focus on and what they want to display.
Very good. Any further discussion? No. Call the question. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. The next one up is correspondence 12.5. Is that the new one? So actually, Marnie, are we okay with the motion that was made? Because we also had a scripted one here. Are we good with the motion that Councillor Stetsky made? Okay, good. Thank you. 12.5, correspondence from the Director of Public Education and Crisis Services, Canadian Mental Health Association, 2023 Essential Items Box Project Sponsorship. We received, they're asking, I think, for some, I'm losing it here. They were asking for something. Okay. Comments? Receive for information? That seems to be the theme. Is that where we want to go? Okay. All in favor of receive for information? Councillor Stetsky, you're in favor. Okay. Sort of. Council. 12.6, motion from Colin St. Clair, CAO, Tanahakin Basket Child and Family Services Society, requesting a donation towards the Christmas gathering. Councillor Stetsky?
For past council members, is this something new or?
It is. So this is something new, but under our council contingency fund, where I think we would take the money from, the wording is really pretty specific, saying interests that cannot be reasonably anticipated during the normal budgeting process. So i.e., hey, we just won the award for hosting a hockey tournament, or there's something unexpected has come up. We didn't plan for it, so we're looking for some contingency funding from the city of Cranbrook. In this case, you know, I don't want to go against Christmas gatherings, but I don't know if it meets our policies. So I guess I'm asking the question, do we want to give them something from the contingency fund? Do we want to give them something from the contingency fund as a one-time, and then have staff write to them and say in the future that request has to go to our grants and aid? Or do we just say, no, it doesn't comply with our contingency fund? Councillor Peabody.
I would go with the latter, that we say no, that doesn't comply with our contingency fund. Speaking from a small business owner, we get requests like this 2 or 3 times a week. And if we start saying yes to it within our city council and paying for these special events and through our contingency fund, we're going to see a plethora of these requests.
Thank you. And I'm seeing a lot of nodding heads. So maybe we can do that and also send a letter saying in future requests like this, send it through the grant and aid program. Do we need a motion for that, or just a nod of heads will do at this point at the night? Thank you. Item 12.7 was the late item. Correspondence from Jessica Kazami, Farmers Market, regarding the use of financial place. Do we receive this for information? Received for information, nodding heads. The last item, correspondence from Todd Lafleur, Cranbrook Minor Hockey Association, regarding Western Financial, and in there he's making the compelling call that they need as much ice time as possible. It's received for information? Okay. We've received that for information. Now, in the next 21 minutes, we have an opportunity for mayor and council reports. So I will go this way to Councillor Graham, and then we'll go all the way around to Councillor Stetsky. Councillor
Graham. Nothing to report. I've said enough tonight. Thank you.
And thank you, Councillor Ray.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. I was honored to attend Occam's walk on September 30th for the National Day of Truth and Reconciliation. With my husband and our family popped out to the community powwow as well. So it was a lovely event, and Occam's gone through a lot in addition to the fire, losing a number of community members. So just want to thank them for that very important community event that they held. On October 4th, I was pleased to attend the Advisory Planning Commission meeting, and just want to thank those folks who do that important work. And I was pleased to be there as well on behalf of council. Fall Go by Bike Week starts today. Yeah, October 16th to October 29th. So if you know anyone who bikes a lot, you can enter and win prizes. So I would encourage people to register, and let's bring some prizes to Cranbrook for Fall Go by Bike. And last but not least, I was pleased to attend on the mayor's behalf the October RDK meeting along with Councillor Blissett. And yeah, lots going on at the RDK, and always lots to learn. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Stetsky.
Thank you. So this last Saturday was the first concert for the season for the Symphony of the Kootenays. The next one up is on November 25th, which is the Christmas concert. If you want tickets, I suggest you get them now, because that one often sells out. The Messiah, with lots of local singers involved as well. I received a letter, which I'm circulating to council, from a citizen of Cranbrook concerning ideas on saving water. And it comes down to basically suggesting, as I think we've talked about briefly before, providing grants for zero-scaping. So rather than buying a rain barrel with a grant, providing grants from people who are willing to tear out their lawns and switch it over to something that requires far less water. I was away in Winnipeg last week. It was Audrey and my 45th wedding anniversary, and we went back to Winnipeg to celebrate with family. So I'd like to just publicly thank her for putting up with me and my adventurous spirit for the last 45 years.
Councillor Peabody.
I just want to congratulate Councillor Stetsky on his 45th wedding anniversary.
Councillor Blissett.
I just wanted to say thank you to all the people who have phoned into the city to report excess water consumption. I appreciate people that actually take action instead of just talking about it. And especially since we really, water consumption and following the restrictions is basically on an honor basis. And so I do appreciate those citizens who are taking this very seriously and trying to make a difference in our community. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Mark, is Mayor Price on the line at all? I don't. No.
Yeah, no,
Okay,
he had an appointment tonight.
Okay, so I'll just wrap it up. So first off, back on Thursday, I participated in the Moyer Park Rotary Trail ribbon cutting. Beautiful. If you bring your bike, bring your dog, bring your rollerblades, go check it out while the pavement's still fresh up there. The scenery is beautiful. I want to thank council and staff for putting up with me today on running maybe a bit looser of a council meeting. My apologies, and I appreciate it and your patience. Thank you. And you'll be happy to hear that Mayor Price, the real mayor, told me he'll be back in Cranbrook permanently starting this weekend coming up. So with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn. Thank you.